Already may the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. All right, welcome everybody. I apologize. Just trying to get set up, as you can see, on location, so to speak. So we tried to find a spot that wasn't noisy, that wasn't filled with dogs everywhere. But anyways, we're here. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour. Je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao. Namaste. Osayo. Ohio Anakitawea. Or Osayo Anakitawea. Ohio. I see you. Manut. Habari gani. Akwa Aba. Itesen. Jambo. Mimini Kofi. Nina Fraku Katana Nuwewe. Shabbat Shalom. Bakwatav. Kwam Yashdel. Teda Yashdel. Barak Allah Sham Yahava. Barak Allah at Achet at Yahava. Barak Allah at Ache Ban at Yahava. Hello, everybody. Excuse me. And I Kofi, Helet at Servants of Christ. Mashalom. Hey, hello, everybody. I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. We're thankful and grateful and appreciative for having everybody on all the platforms, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on TikTok. Thank you so much for joining us again, as many of you often do. We appreciate your presence. We're thankful and grateful for your presence, and we look forward to getting into today's message. We once again give all praise and honor to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. We once again give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate you joining us on this great day, this awesome day, to have an awesome experience and prayerfully get a word that is awe-inspiring. You yourself are awesome, and we are thankful for your connection to us in any way, shape, or form. Whether it's your first time, one time of many, thank you so much, moderators. We appreciate you, everybody on here. If you agree with us, disagree with us, feel free to enter into the chat. We do ask that you treat people with respect. We feel like respect is given, respect is not earned, right? But you can't earn your way through disrespect off of these platforms, because we do need to make sure we protect this not only for our diaspora, for our community, but also for people of different ages, and including the different sites that we're on. They have rules and regulations that if we allow you guys to break those, we will get in trouble and not you. So we have decided to be obedient in that manner, as we should, because this is not our platform, although we are charged with this platform or usage of it. It is not our platform. So we thank you guys for listening in on that. Alrighty. So how's everybody doing today? Prayerfully you're doing all right. Forgot my bottle opener, so I'm trying to use my key to open this thing up. But hopefully you guys are doing well. Thank you for coming in here, hanging in there. And we're going to continue to go through this series called "This System is Sus." The system that we're in is sus, right? A system that tells you that you're in a country, but according to law, the system's United States Code tells you that this system is not a country, it's a corporation. Something is sus. We set a nice little foundation for that yesterday to get into, so today we're going to go a little deeper. And hopefully you guys get something out of what we're going into today. And we got something rich for you guys, I believe. Give me a second. If you're on Facebook, you're going to disappear. Just need to make sure that the battery's going to be all right for them. But today we're going to talk about parasites. Today we're going to talk about parasites, because the system is not only full of parasites, but it is a parasitical system. Today we're going to talk about parasites, not just because the system is full of parasites, because the system itself is a parasite, is a leech. It has no power unless it attaches itself to a host. And you, my friend, my brother, my sister, you are in fact the host that the system must leech onto in order to survive. Without something to leech onto, this system would die. And so we're going to talk about that some today, right? And hopefully you get something out of it, and something that can help you to be able to see how you're being leached upon. Let's go ahead and say hello to everybody real quick. How you doing, Stephen Smith? How you doing, Star Bright? How are we doing? Uh-oh. Well, how are you doing, Sister Beverly, Trauma Shaman? Everybody on all these platforms, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. How are we doing? Let's see. I'm gonna try my best. I got the sun right in my face, but I'm try and see you guys real quick. How you doing, Romac, Sister Monica, Sister Knight, I'm Candy, Dre, Molly, Natriel, Brother Alton, Sister Lori, Iska. How you doing? Money Green. I think Sage. I don't know if I said hello to you already. Billy Price, thanks for being on. Gladys Smith, Grand Rising T. She Travels. Okay, it just went up. I don't know why. I just missed somebody probably. How you doing? Shalom Tay. Shabbat Shalom to everybody coming on. And when I say Shabbat Shalom, because of our Israelite calendar, it's actually Shabbat right now for us, but it also be Shabbat tomorrow, right? Starting at 6 p.m., technically 6 p.m., or when the sun goes down, if you want to use that as an indicator. How you doing, Gladys? Thanks for being on. If I missed your name, please charge it to my head and not to my heart. I'm appreciative of everybody for being on. How you doing, Sister Joy? How you doing, Minister Shantae? Alrighty. So the series that we're in now is The System is Sus. And when we talk about the system being sus, today we're talking about parasites. You are in a parasitical system. How you doing, Sir Stephen? You are in a system that is a parasite. It is a leech, right? And there are many different types of parasite, and this system seems to have all of them in it, right? How you doing, Brother Jermaine? I think I saw Javin on here. Once again, sun is right in my eyes. I'm gonna try and hit these comments as best as I can. Forgive me if I don't get right to them. How you doing, Zola? Right. So the system is sus. The system is sus. Thanks for being on and being part of the community, Tanya. Right. The system is sus, and you're dealing with parasites. They leech onto you. They leech onto the very fabric, your very nature. Right. As we talked about yesterday, in this system, you are somebody who carries a person just as much as you are a person. What does that even mean? Right? Because we asked the question, are you a person? Do you have a person? Or are you a person who has a person with you? Right? It's extremely important that you know who you are and whose you are and what you're dealing with. See, because your straw man is not you. Your birth certificate, that all caps name that shows up on all your bills, is not you. It is a hollowed out version of you. It is a false version of you. It is a clone that has no life unless you decide to put on. Basically, think about it like this. Think about you are a human being and somebody makes up a fake mannequin of you that's hollow on the inside. And the only way that mannequin can have life is when you decide to put the mannequin on. And so you could just live your life as yourself, but you decide to put a fake version of yourself on. Right? And that's what your birth ticket, that's what that all cap stuff is. How you doing, Sister Deborah? That's what these things are, is fake versions, right? We have people who are leeching off of your real self, right? Demonic influences that are leeching off of who you really are, right? In essence, you have been possessed by an artificial person. How you doing, Sister Deja? How you doing, J Mag? Like some people might think I'm using extreme language. How you doing, Brother Anthony? Right? But I'm not using extreme language. This is real. You have been possessed. Bakutab, how you doing? Bakutab to everybody. Shabbat Shalom. And yes, Shabbat Shalom according to our calendar, right? You have been possessed. You have been possessed by a fake person. How you doing, babe? My wife is on, the Honorable Maya. Check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree, right? If you're not careful, you have a system that leeches on to you and therefore is now leading you rather than you leading yourself or being led by the Most High. If you're not careful, you can become part of a system that is designed to make sure that it leeches onto your real self, right? And sucks the life out of you. How you doing, Joey? Thanks for being on part of the community. So, for example, somebody says, what are you talking about? No, that doesn't make sense. But y'all will be the first person to tell me that there are energy vampires. Correct? Isn't that a term a lot of y'all use? Somebody's an energy vampire. When you say energy vampire, what do you mean by that? Right? When you say somebody's an energy vampire, what do you mean? You mean that that person can come around and everything seems to be cool, the vibe is going well, the party's flowing, right? I'm feeling great, right? And all of a sudden, I know when this person comes around, I'm not going to leave with the same energy, right? Incubus, succubus, if you want to use those terms, right? How you doing, Charles? Like, we have a lot of people who will tell you straight up that they know us. They'll tell you they know a such thing as an energy vampire exists, right? But what if but when I tell you the system is sucking the life out of you, people say that doesn't make sense. But of course it would make sense. If a person, how you doing, Lenore, Sister Lenore, right? If a person can leech off me, then what makes you think a corporation of artificial persons can't leech off me? Hey, how you doing, user 790? How you doing, Sister Betty? Think about that. If a person can leech off me, why can't a bunch of persons leech off me? Remember, people is a nation. Person, right? That's why I'm using those distinct terms, right? A people means nation. You are a royal priesthood, a chosen generation, a peculiar people, and a chosen generation, right? That's a nation, right? So you got to be a nation to fit that description. But a lot of people are just a person out here by themselves, or an artificial person that has to bow down to a falsified government you call, right, that you think is actually a country, but it's a corporation. How you doing, Marky? Or Marky, right? How you doing, Big Roy? So a lot of people are dealing with leeches, and you're in a system that leeches off of you, right? A leech is designed to a leech is designed to leech. A leech is designed to feed off of you, right? A lot of parasites are designed to feed off of you. And parasites' whole responsibility is to make sure that they can go through a process of being able to get to the point to where they can draw life from something else, right? That's a parasite's whole responsibility, is to draw life from something else. How you doing, Sister Alonda? Or I'm sorry, Alonda, excuse me. Right. Like, a parasite's whole responsibility, no cap on this, right? Look it up, is to make sure that they leech off of something else. That's it. That's what it's been called to do, so to speak. That's what it was made for, so to speak. That's what it's intends to do. It has no other responsibility than to make sure that it becomes, sometimes even becomes, one with its host. Right? You in the United States corporation, those of you that are, some of you listen from England, some of you listen from Ireland, some of you listen from Scotland, some of you listen from Australia, Africa, wherever you are, right? If you're listening, right, I need you to comprehend that your problem is that oftentimes people don't even consider parasites as a problem. Yeah, they'll suck the life out of you, right? Like, it's not just that you deal with parasites. How you doing, Brother Vincent? Yeah, it sometimes makes the host even think it's being helpful. Yeah, we'll be going there in a second. How you doing, TNT? How you doing, Keith? Right. The whole goal of a parasite is to ensure that it will continue to suck life. Watch this, because it uses your life source to ensure that it breeds the next generation. Right. So the next generation of leeches cannot exist unless it drains your life force. So in a sense, if you're not careful, you are responsibility. You will become responsible for birthing generations of parasites. Did you catch it? Did you catch that? Right? We're mad at all the parasites, but if you're not careful and you don't cleanse some things from your life, if you don't break away from certain parts of this demonic and wicked and perverted system, you will allow generations of parasites to cling on not only to you, but to your own generation. See, there's a parasite, and I don't know the names of all these parasites. Forgive me. You can look them up for yourself. I've described them enough to where if you want to do some research and go down this rabbit hole, you can do so. It's kind of disgusting, some of this stuff, but it is what it is, right? I need you to comprehend that you're dealing with some disgusting stuff attached to your body, right? And so you'll have parasites that will literally, so for example, you have, when you're dealing with parasites, things start acting differently Animals, insects start living differently to a place when they deal with parasites. Out of fear of parasites, right? A lot of animals will actually ensure, right? Out of fear of another parasite, a lot of animals or insects will actually try their best to make sure that something else will get infected rather than it. See, so you got to be careful. Some of your friends deal with parasites and they'll do anything they can to cleanse them. But sometimes the people that you're around, when they're cleansing these spirits and doing stuff, they don't care if it affects those people around them. I'm trying to tell you about parasites today. Is we're going to go a lot of different directions, but prayerfully you'll be able to see that see the road. I promise you, it's a straight road. It ain't too winding. How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? Right. When you're dealing with a parasite, you got to recognize that parasites, they affect communities. They affect ecosystems. Your body is an ecosystem, right? Your body is an ecosystem. The body of believers is an ecosystem. Those who are into humanity are an ecosystem, right? And parasites that come into our ecosystem, they affect the whole vibe. The whole family, the whole community is messed up when it comes to this because we're not in position. You said be careful of the fish you catch, tongue parasites in them. Well, yeah, certain fish have those and things like that, right? So, well, watch this. There's a parasite that comes after a wasp, right? And it tries to take over the wasp body. Or actually, put it like this: so there's a wasp that would be considered to be a parasite, right? Um, but there's a wasp that basically tries to plant its babies inside another wasp. How you doing, Sister Urana? And so that other wasp will blow up, right? It tries to plant its babies inside another wasp, or it tries to plant its babies inside another species of wasp offspring. Tries to plant its offspring inside another species of wasp offspring. So the wasp offspring, or the wasp that knows that there's this other wasp trying to take over its offspring, it looks for a caterpillar. The caterpillar is designed to do what? Become a butterfly. In order for the caterpillar to become a butterfly, what must the caterpillar do? Right? Just roll with me now. I know we're going on some National Geographic stuff, but just roll with me for a second, right? How you doing, MIT tomorrow? Right? In order for the caterpillar, right? What is the caterpillar supposed to do? What is the caterpillar designed to do? It's going to eat because of what purpose? What is it trying to do? What is it ultimately trying to do? It's trying to become a butterfly, which means it has to create a cocoon. It has to weave silk, right? Enough silk to be able to and create a strong substance that no other insect is going to be able to get into, right? It's going to be difficult to be able to get into. How you doing, Sister Marion? So in order for it to metamorphosize, or for order for it to morph from a caterpillar into a butterfly and go through the process of even liquefying its body, becoming like a goo, becoming something that's not even an insect or anything, and somehow turning into a butterfly. In order for it to do that, it has to protect itself. So here, right? And so there's a insect out there that knows that right, there's a wasp, right? There's a parasite that knows there's another wasp, another parasite that likes to deal with this offspring. So guess what this parasite does? This wasp does. It plants its offspring inside of, hear what I'm saying? It plants its offspring inside of, hear what I'm saying? It plants its offspring, the next generation of parasites. It's not just the parasite you got to worry about, but the parasite is feeding off of you and using you to make sure that there's generations of parasites. Right? So so what it's doing is it says, okay, I'm going to take this offspring, right? I'm going to take my offspring and impregnate, so to speak. I'm going to put them inside of a caterpillar. And it's crazy. If you look at when this happens, it's crazy. Like, it's disgusting. And it comes out of the entire caterpillar's body. And you would think, the way that it looks, you would think there's no way the caterpillar can survive. I mean, it's more disturbing than any alien movie you've seen. It's more disturbing than any other stuff that y'all be seeing. Right? This stuff is crazy, right? And you see this happen and you go, wow, like that's wild. I can't even believe it. But it survives. How you doing, Tahiti? It survives. Hey, Shalom, how you doing, spiritual prospect? Right? It survives all that, right? It survives, but here's the deal. It has Stockholm syndrome, in a sense now. It survives being impregnated with a parasite. All of these little babies have come out of the caterpillar. All of these little offspring have come out of the caterpillar. And now, guess what the caterpillar does? The offspring start wrapping themselves up to protect themselves because there's other parasites that want to infect them. So guess what? The caterpillar that's been infected, it now takes on the responsibility that's not its own. And it's not just enough that the parasite had it to where it was used to be able to produce another generation, but now the parasite has it in its mindset, right? It's been injected. When you get injected with a parasite, the parasite influences the way that you live. And so, right, even after it leaves your body, you still have this connection piece, this soul tie, if you will. How you doing, Sister Latoya? All I am, right? And so now the caterpillar will start to weave a cocoon for the for the actual thing that hatched out of his body so that it will be safe. And the caterpillar will try to protect it and will not even try to become a butterfly, will ultimately die. Protecting the parasite. And so that the parasites inside, they'll be, when they morph into adults, right? Before they come out, the males impregnate the females, and then the males are pretty much done. Then the females pretty much get ready to come out and start the whole process all over again. None of it, you have generations of a parasite that's out. Generations of parasite, but not one, but all it took was one caterpillar. Did you catch it? Generations of people that are feeding off of you, and all it takes is one. I've said this before. When people have this whole argument that's really weird that we have in our diaspora because we don't realize that the Native American is the same as the African, right? Like we're the same people. We were already mixing and matching way before any person was coming over here that gets credit, whether it be Amerigo Vespucci or Leif Erikson or Christopher Columbus or whomever you try to put over here, right? Right, whatever conquistador you want to put down in South America. But we do this weird thing. And I try to tell people, I don't care if only one African slave was taken. You said, nope, we are different. Okay, well, you know what? I'm somebody who literally is Tisalagi or Anakitwayah, or what you would call Cherokee. And I'm also somebody who is West African. And this is how my family comes together, is even if you don't want to give us the same, because you might not know that the Negro, by law, they just put all of us in a pot and they bred all of us together. So a lot of us, including the Seminole that traveled all the way down to Mexico, that's my wife's, right, people, or you want to talk about these things, we're all in a melting pot at this point anyways, right? Or if you want to talk about the fact that, we were coming over, but anyways, if you made up your mind on that, that's fine. You can be right. But my ultimate point that I'm talking about is the fact that, hey, I'm somebody who on the Trail of Tears, one part of my family owned the other part of my family because the native side fell into a league because they had parasites that infected the mindset. They started being in league with the Confederacy. And so the Trail of Tears for me is sad on two ends. It's sad because I got the Cherokee side of me that had to march across. And it's also sad because I had the Cherokee side who owned the slaves that had to march across. And it wasn't until Abraham Lincoln, who didn't even like himself and like us anyways, who shortened the amount of land that we had and said you got to get rid of your slaves or whatever. It was when he made the decree that we started marrying into each other anyways, which is why somebody like myself exists. But not only in that, I have both cultures that I bring with me anyways, right? But if that's your thing, is to keep separating it, so be it, right? But I'm trying to tell you is that the one caterpillar, see, I don't care if they took one African from there, which is my ultimate point. See, you missed the point because you're so busy trying to do what the person that wants you to have Stockholm syndrome has you in, right? You're so busy in doing the Stockholm syndrome thing that you missed the point, right? They got you on the Willie Lynch thing, and you so tied to it. You got to fight for it. You got to make sure you square up and everything. You ready to jab and everything, and you're not listening, right? Like, peep game before you come at your family. Before you come at your diaspora. Peep game. I don't care if they took one slave from Africa and that was it. Before y'all try to argue, nobody came from Africa, which is foolish, or only people that were slaves were Africans, which is foolish. We were all messed up all over the world, for real, for real. How you doing, Sister Aliens? Right? But if they took one slave from Africa, I've said this before, let me say it again for those that might not have heard this. If I take one seed, or if I take one fruit, let's say I go to Africa, I like the fruit that I'm eating, right? I get the neem fruit. I'm sitting there, I'm eating it, I'm using it for my teeth, I'm doing this, I'm getting healthy, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm like, man, this neem fruit is hitting. I'm gonna go ahead and take this fruit with me. I take the fruit, I make it through customs, all that stuff, and then when I get the fruit over here, right, I take out the seed. I take the seed and I plant it in the ground. Out of that seed, I now have a bunch of neem trees. Let's say I have 5,000 neem trees. by the time I pass away, which means that a whole bunch of seed is actually taking place, right? But I have personally on my land 5,000 trees. Let's just say, this is not my land I'm on or anything. I'm just saying, let's just use that as an example. If I've taken one seed, one neem tree seed, and I planted it and I have it all over the United States, right? Then how many, um, how many neem trees did I steal? You said they acting like the ant that's taken over by the mushroom parasites. He was going to get into that one too. See, you know, see, people don't comprehend. If I take one seed and I get 5,000 trees, I didn't steal one tree or one fruit, right? If I take one person, but I'm able to use that person to birth a whole bunch of people that become slaves, I didn't steal one person from Africa. I stole a bunch of seeds. Well, all seeds won't grow everywhere for sure, right? But we grew over in one diaspora. We grew over on one side of the diaspora and the other. So this seed seemed to be growing okay, and it seems to be something that people are continuing to being parasites, right? Yeah, you stole a nation. That's the point. You stole a people. You're so busy being a person and an artificial person that if you're not careful, and what we're trying to do is not produce um, artificial persons. How are you doing, Gregory? How are you doing, Sister Dawn? I'm not worried about having you continue to be an artificial person tied to a fake corporation and telling me why that fake corporation is what you see yourself as. I'm talking about you being a nation again. Matter of fact, not a nation again, telling you that really you were always a nation, but you kept calling yourself something different. And there's a parasite who has set up a system to where if you would hollow yourself out and allow something else to be born inside of you, that they might be able to go ahead and address you the way that they do when they control your body as the parasite. A lot of y'all are controlled as parasites rather than being free to become the butterflies that you should be. No metamorphosis, but claiming power. No metamorphosis, but talking about we're all coming together. You're still on the ground, right? The caterpillar is eating, and you're eating, but you're not getting full, right? As somebody said yesterday, I believe it was Sister Akita when Minister Tamara was on with this last night. You're so busy. You're coming in hungry. You're leaving starving. If you're eating something, you should at least get full. If you're eating something, there should be some reason. How you going to be like if we see, and there are people who have this disease, right? If we see a person, right, when they're a child and they get to be 33 and they still look like a child, we say something's wrong. I'm not saying that's a bad person. I'm saying that's not nature. That's not natural. If that child got what they were supposed to get, or if their body was acting correctly, then they should turn into an adult. How do you have a group of people that are still not adults in many different areas and nobody's willing to say something's not wrong? Yeah, so they stole both actual and potential life. Yeah, stole generations. You see? Right? Like there's some issues going on. This is why we say read books like Dr. Joy DeGruy, PTSS, post-traumatic slave syndrome, where you realize that it wasn't just black folk that had to go ahead and get jacked up. It was white folk too, where you had to teach whole generations of people to remain caterpillars and never go through a metamorphosis. How you doing, yellow girl? Right? You have a lot of people who never went through a metamorphosis, never were redeemed. The word redeemed, by the way, means what? It means to be reconsidered. Have you considered yourself outside of a false, fictitious system? Have you considered that the same people that would lie to you about who's better because of the color of their skin might lie to you about the fact that you shouldn't even have to pay taxes? Have you considered that there's hope in ways that people are saying there's no hope? See, a lot of people just give up and just do whatever because they don't have hope. See, and when you don't have hope, you lose faith because faith is the substance of things hoped for. Oh, okay. Thanks, man. See, faith is the substance of things hoped for. How you doing, Sister Gertrude? Come on, somebody. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, right? But you allow a parasite in your life long enough, they'll drain you of your hope. If you have no more hope, how in the world can you get faith? Because faith is when I've walked in hope enough. I hope that things will change for my community, right? I hope you wake up the next day. I hope things will change. But when you take a step on the third day, you say, I hope that things will change, and you move forward. Then you start developing something called faith. And when you develop in faith, right, not just saying, okay, I have faith that these steps I'm taking are going to move, but now you start to put works with your faith. Then we call that manifestation. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for. and the evidence of things through my faith not yet seen. Right? Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. Whatever I hope for, my faith is only substantiated by my hope. If it's not for my hope, right, then I have no faith. And people are hopeless, which means that people are faithless. Somebody who is faithless, I promise you, they're hopeless. Come on. Somebody who's faithless, I promise you, they're hopeless. You said the parasite can attack that faith. Got to get rid of the parasite. There you go. Right. And this is the demonic spirit that we got to talk about, the parasite, this parasitical thing that's attached to your life. What is that parasite that you need to let go, that you keep giving so much life to? Right. Some of your words have become parasites. You've spoken so much negativity over your life for so long that it's ate away your ability to actually think that you can be better. I talk to many different people, and I do a lot of life coaching. I do a lot of marital coaching, and I promise you, one of the things that is the most detrimental to people is the words that come out of their mouths. How you doing, Sister Deja? Right? I don't think we gonna make it past this. Where's your hope? Where's your faith? Where's the power of the word? Death and life is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it, those that cover, those that enact it, those that give the same actions that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit would together to reveal the Holy Spirit having the right to be able to rule in your life. Those that love it will eat the fruit thereof. You know, a lot of people hope for death, and they get what they hope for. How you doing, Prince? A lot of people hope for death. Oh no, that's not true. That's not true. A lot of people hope for death. A lot of people hope. I can't take this anymore. Keep hoping in that and see if it doesn't turn into faith. See if you don't start believing you can't take it anymore. There's an old saying. I don't know who originally said it because so many people say it now. So I don't know who originally said this, but long story short, there's a saying, or maybe I don't know if it's old or not, but basically saying goes like this. If you say that you can, and you say that whether you say you can or you cannot, you will be right often. Right? Whether you say you can or you cannot, you're going to end up right most of the time. I'm adding that most of the time because I believe that just because somebody been speaking death doesn't mean we can't reverse that thing. So I'm going to add personally that most of the time. Right? Because I used to speak death over my life. Some of y'all love to watch things like I was asked a while ago about scary movies or gory movies and things like that. Keep watching death and see if death don't keep popping up, because you're letting it enter into your mind. Sorry, Facebook. I guess it's getting a little windy out here. I have to figure this out. I might have to lean y'all back some, pull y'all into a different spot so that y'all don't fall anymore. But yeah, watch. Be careful of the stuff that's entering into your mind, into your heart, and see how much life you be giving this stuff. Right? This is why it even talks about before marriage. Everybody goes to Ephesians 5:22. Wives, make sure that you submit yourself to your own husbands. Everybody goes to Ephesians 5:21. Husbands, love your wives, the same way that Yahshua loved the assembly and gave himself for it. People don't even look at Ephesians 5:21. Submit yourselves one to another as unto Yahweh. Right? But before that, in verse 19, it even says, hey, be careful what y'all out here listening to. Paul says before I get into the marriage piece, he says I want y'all to think about this. Paul says before I start talking about your marriage, what y'all been listening to? Who pops up on your screen? How you doing, Serenity? Right? Like, who you listening to? You gotta have a J-O-B, right? If you want to get with me, who you listening to? Ain't nothing going on but the rent. Listen, who you listening to? We are living in a material world, and I am a material girl. You know that, right? Who you listening to? Before we talk about your marriage, see, because if you a material girl, right? Look, your husband should provide material all day, every day. I ain't got no problem with that. Meanwhile, though, what happens when material comes first? Oh, we had this live. We record these on our YouTube channel. If you want more information on the YouTube channel, go and look at hashtag Find Kofi on our link tree. Go to the main TikTok page, click on the link tree. You'll see something that says hashtag Find Kofi. Click on that. That'll take you to the YouTube channel. And you can like, share, subscribe, hit the notification tab so when videos pop up, you can be part of that. We also have stuff like Patreon. We do classes. We have a lot of different things. We do meetups. We have people that call each other. So there's a lot of stuff we do. All right. All right. Thank you for the question. You said, what comes from the tongue falls into your ears and enters the mind, now absorbed into the soul. Yeah. Or watch this. Where does the words that come out of your mouth? See, now we got to figure out, where is the parasite at? Physically, spiritually, emotionally, etc. Where is this parasite at? Out of the abundance of the heart does the mouth speak. Do you not know that there are people that are feeding off your heart? In Hebrew, the lab, or in modern Hebrew, the lev, the heart, it also represents the passion. How you doing? Is it Kira? Please forgive me, but thank you for being part of the community. Right? So out of the abundance of your heart, out of your passion, does your mouth speak. So when somebody starts speaking a certain way, the parasite that I'm looking for, first and foremost, is usually going to be a heart parasite. I'm talking in the spiritual sense now. The passion. What are the things that have taken away from your passion? Who are the people that you're still connected to that take away from your passion? We got to have conversation, y'all. Who are these people who are eating and feeding off of your passions? Right? Who are these people who are eating and feeding off of your passions? It's that constituent energy we talk so much about on there. You ever dealt with a constituent? Somebody that's not for you, but they're for what you're for. And if you're not careful, you'll believe that they're for you when they're really just for what you're for. Right? Vampire movies, things like that. Yeah, we were talking about energy vampires and earlier and things like that. And thank you for the love, appreciate it. How you doing? Is that desirable, I think? How you doing? Right? Here it is. How many people are in your lives? And if you were to see, we don't ask people questions and we don't listen to their answers either. We ask questions, but we don't listen. How you doing, Sister Stacy? We ask questions, but we don't listen. So allow me to just kind of give you a reminder, a refresher for those of you who haven't listened to the confidant, constituent, or comrade thing, or if this is your first time. This is what, see, confidants are for you. Confidants are people that might tell you about yourself and you don't want to hear it, but they're going to tell you about yourself because they ain't feeding off you. At the end of the day, if you don't talk to me for 15 years, I'd rather us not talk for 15 years. And when we come back together, you say, I appreciate that you always kept it real, bro. Right? Now, I'm not saying be a jerk. Right? I'm not saying treat that person with disrespect. I'm just saying I'd rather you be upset because I told you the truth and you thought about it and you came back, you said, you know, that thing that you were saying, you was a real one, King. Appreciate you, bro. Right? I'd rather you do that than be somebody who I just feed you whatever you want until I can go ahead and get enough stuff off you, right? But see, see, that's a confidant. They're for you. A constituent is not for you, but they are for what you are for. All right? How you doing, Minister Joseph? So this is what a lot of people do. Listen to them, and you don't realize you're hearing constituency. You confuse it for confidence. You'll have a friend. You have a family member. You have somebody who's at your job. You have somebody you break bread with, and this is what it'll sound like. And you think this is somebody that's for you, but they're not for you. They're for what you're for. They're a parasite, right? And by the way, we can use parasites for positive things. If somebody got blood flow issues, or somebody's going through something, or if the blood ain't clotting, or I need to make sure somebody gets rid of some disgusting stuff, and so the bad stuff is eaten away from them so that it no longer affects like the stuff that we want to grow fresh in the body, I might use a parasite. Right? I might use a parasite. Right? But here it is. See, listen to what some of these people say. Right? Listen to them well. See, because confidants, if you say, what do you get out of this relationship? Confidant might say something like, man, you know what? First of all, I'm just excited that you're an awesome person. I'm excited to see you grow. I love this smile. I love the way you walk. I love the fact that you worship the Most High. I've seen you grow so much, right? I've seen you get in this walk. I've seen you go through some things. There's some things I wish would be better, but even those things that I wish would be better, because I see you trying to be better in them, I'm gonna go ahead and roll with you. I'm gonna go ahead and be around. I can't wait to be with you. I can't wait to be there for you. I can't wait to see you keep growing. I can't wait to see generations of people be blessed by you, right? That's how confidence be. And you'll think that a constituent would say very similar, or, the constituent sounds similar, but listen to what I'm saying. It's going to sound similar, but it's not the same. You ready? Constituent is not for you, they're for what you're for. And if you're not careful, some constituents are just straight parasites. This is how a parasite will sound. Sounds like it's something that should belong to the body because it's attached to the body, but it's not the body. You ready? The constituent, the parasite, says stuff like, man, you know what? It's always cool to be around you. I love it that when you come by, I always feel great. You always make sure you feed me. Whenever I'm down, you always pick me up. Right? Right. I appreciate the fact of what you do for my family and my children. Come on, somebody, right? I love, I love the fact that you are always thinking of me. I love that when I do something for you, you will always do something for me, right? And by the way, they're not bad people because of this. They're just not in a position yet in life. They have not matured in this area of life. They are still a constituent. And right, because I can't be everybody's confidant, by the way, but I can give you confidant energy. Whenever I'm in front of you, I might not be able to be your confidant, right? I have a wife, I have a child, I have many different things, and I have a few people that might be in the inner circle. But for real, pretty much my wife and my child, that's pretty much my main thing as far as confidant. So when I talk to you, I'll give you confidant energy, but don't make a mistake. I cannot be your confidant. And I'll make it plain, right? If you're not an immediate family, for the most part, it's going to be very difficult, or until we're living together, for the most part, it's going to be extremely difficult for me to really be anybody's confidant outside of my wife and my child. Why? Because that's what I got time for. I don't have time for friends, right? I love all y'all. Y'all aren't friends, y'all are family. So hear me when I say this again. I don't have time for friends like that. I have time to make sure my family is straight, to make sure my diaspora is straight, to make sure SOC is moving correctly, to make sure that my wife is straight, and my child is straight, to make sure that the Most High is taking what he says has to go, right? But I can't be everybody's confidant. And see, a lot of y'all have 1,000 friends on Facebook and think that 500 of them are real friends. You think that 500 of them are real confidants. That's why you post some of the stuff that you post, stuff that when some of these people read it, they're like, why are they even posting that? And you get mad. You're like, nobody's responding. But see, in your mind, you thought you were supposed to have a bunch of confidants, right? But you've been dealing with a bunch of people who are on Facebook. A lot of them are on there. A lot of people on Instagram, a lot of people on TikTok, a lot of people on YouTube are there to see you fail. And they can't wait to laugh at you. And you're so upset that they laughed at you. But see, parasites are just hanging around to make sure that you feed them. Because ultimately, the parasite is not trying to take care of you, but they're trying to take care of their next generation. How you doing, Joy Boy? Blessings to you as well, but to everybody, right? You hear what I'm saying? Right? So I'm not saying that to be mean, right? I'm not trying to say that to be mean. I'm trying to get you to comprehend. Some of y'all have opened yourselves up to so many people, right? And you're not even thinking about them being parasites. Why? Because if you're not careful, a parasite becomes part of the body. But here's where, right? So if you're not careful, see, you think that some of y'all think that you eating extra right now because you just been going through some kind of weird issue, or maybe your body is doing this, blah, blah. You don't even consider to yourself, well, am I eating? See, because eating is a natural thing. It's very natural, right? You are naturally created to eat food, right? But have you ever considered, and how you doing, Elder Benny, thanks for being on, how you doing, Bradley, right? So it's very natural. It's in your nature to eat food. That makes sense. But have you ever considered, come on, somebody. How you doing, Sister Nancy? Have you ever considered that maybe you're eating more right now, not because it's natural for you to eat more, but because there's something attached to you that is trying to use your nature, use what you think is you're naturally supposed to do, and getting you to conform to the ways of the parasitical behavior. Oh, y'all don't want to hear that. Praise Yah. See, there's some people that are around that are using things that seem to be natural, but they're actually getting you to conform to parasitical ways. See, this is why you got to study to show yourself approved in as much stuff as possible. Right? Y'all put some stuff out of nature, and you need to see how the parasite does things and how animals respond to the parasites. How you doing, Brother Ellen? right? You got to know. How you doing, Sister Erica? You need to know that the parasites. See, watch this. If there's ants, it was brought up earlier by Brother Vincent, right? We were going to go here anyways. Praise y'all. So I think praise y'all to be thinking on the same wavelength, right? But you need to know that there are some people who are operating in parasitical behavior, right? And it's okay to call out a parasite. Matter of fact, it's okay to separate parasites from the body. So when we were talking about earlier, we were talking about earlier, there's a parasite that affects ants. It's a mushroom, right? And the mushroom has to go through the ant's body in order to make sure that it can give, birth to more, because the mushrooms basically grow out of the ants. They use the ant's body as the soil, right? They use the ant's body as the soil, just like you are made of the soil. They use the ant's body as soil to be able to ensure that they can go ahead and grow the next generation. You said cordyceps? Okay, cordyceps. Cordyceps, that's the name of it, right? So they use they use the body of the ants to be able to grow the next generation, quite literally. I'm not talking about just, I mean, all of it's literally we've been talking about, but I'm talking about literally they actually start to take over the mind. So they have the spores. The spores go from the mushroom, right? And then the spores from the mushroom get on the ant. The spores, right, carry the bacteria, right? The spores carry the bacteria. Their whole thing is designed to make sure that they do this, right? And by the way, all this stuff that we're talking about is for educational purposes, right? Just making that clear. I've announced it. All right, there we go. So the spores carry the parasite. The parasite, once it gets to the ant, goes to the ant's brain, right? And it begins to take over the ant's brain. The ant starts acting different. Eventually, what will happen is the ant will just stay still, and usually we'll try. Well, now there's a couple different versions of this, right? So I might be confusing a couple of these together. So I'll make that clear, right? You do your research if you want to find out all the names and this, that, and this is. I don't have all the information, okay, right? But this is some stuff based off of some real stuff, okay? The ant, but the ant will either just separate itself and go somewhere. Some of them will even have different different bacteria that will have them climb to the tops of like they'll find blades of grass and they'll have them climb to the top of it because that would help it to be able to help the bacteria and the spore to spread, and it will literally grow on the top of the plant or the top of something really high up on the flower, on the blade of grass, whatever it's on, right? And then the spore will release and will travel around, hopefully hitting another ant at some point so it can start all over again, right? But here's the deal: the ants, when they're looking for parasites, ants have the ability, um, through sense of smell and other things to be able to see things. But the ants, they don't necessarily look for the smell to see what's going on. The ants will actually look for the behavior of the ant to change, because the ant that is under watch this, the ant that is dealing with the parasite, its behavior will ultimately change because the ants have stuff to do. They're supposed to be doing this, doing that. And if you're an ant that's starting to slow down, if you're an ant that starts to twitch, if you're an ant that's looking for places to just stay, if you're an ant because the bacteria, or I'm sorry, the parasite wants to be able to make sure it actually gets in an ant colony. So it might try to go and just stay in one place in the ant colony and wait for it to go ahead and spore out so we can go ahead and grab a bunch of ants. So the ants see the behavior change. And when they see the behavior change, they say, oh, no, no, no. You're not an ant anymore. You got to go. Did you catch that? Hey, how you doing, Brother Christopher? You see that? How you doing, Happy Haze? Or they might try to get trees as well or things. Yeah, right? Right? So they're looking for an opportunity, right, to infect the entire ant colony. So if they see your behavior change, they say, we got to get rid of you. They don't just do that for parasites, by the way. If an ant dies, they take the ants out. They have an ant graveyard. They take you to the graveyard. They dump your body over there. They say, we can't have you over infecting anybody else, right? They have very specific things that they got to grow down there. There's very specific things that their offspring need, right? There's very specific thing that the grubs need. There's very specific things that they have to eat. And so anything that will cause them to not be able to grow as a colony, they get rid of it. And see, people don't want to be honest about that. But see, one of the things that we have to do as a group, as a nation, as a people, is we have to start calling some stuff out. Now, we do so in love. I'm not here to judge anybody. I don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody in. But when I use this right here, this weeds parasites out. I'm not calling any one of you a parasite. I'm telling you, this is what the word does. You might not like it, but it's real. Because there's a lot of people who treat Christ like a host rather than like the Lord of hosts. That's a bar right there. Holy Spirit, you speaking on that. Right? There's a lot of people who treat Christ like a host. And they want Yahshua HaMashiach or Hamashiach to be their host rather than for him to be the Lord of hosts. I want to be able to attach myself to your name, but I don't want to do what you've authorized. And the word name means authority. How you doing, Sister Juanetta? So a lot of people, they want to be able to attach themselves. Make me a member of such and such church. Make me Archbishop of such and such diocese. Make me the person who is the first black man to preach it. Da, 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 da. Make me the first woman to be pastor. Da, da, da. Make me that. Make me that. But when it comes time to him to be the Lord of hosts, you have no connection. Right? And we see these people doing this all the time. And rather than call out the behavior, we let it slide. Now, be led in everything you do. But why are we letting some of this stuff slide? And truth separates. Yeah. See, if somebody's a parasite, parasites are supposed to operate in such a manner that that it's by the time you find out about them, it's too late. That's the goal of a parasite. Is by the time that you find out that you're dealing with parasitical behavior, they're trying to get you to believe that it's too late. Too little, too late. By the time you get a tapeworm big enough to be longer than your body, all up in your gut area. By the time you get it, and the whole tapeworm's body is designed literally to cut off piece by piece, to give offspring after offspring after offspring after offspring. And it literally tells you when to eat. It tells you what to eat. It says, we need more sugar in here. Go get me some sugar. And you go ahead and do so. Because it's linked to the brain. You start to move at the behest of the parasite, right? Why is it that we allow the parasite to tell our bodies what to do? And why don't we cleanse parasites at some point? The word cleanse, by the way, means to be legal, to be lawful, right? At some point, isn't it hygienic to go through and cleanse and get something disgusting like that and decrepit out of the body? I'm not talking about certain bacteria. There's certain bacteria that you need in your body. There's certain things you need to happen in your life that might be tough, that make you sick, that are things that are there to break down and help you to digest food, to have great, and consistent gut health, right? Right? How you doing, Brother Anthony? Right? So there's a lot of stuff out there like that, right? But at the same time, my next question is, well, and all that stuff that's going on, why is it that we keep allowing parasites in our community? And I'm not talking about just white folk, before somebody hits us with that. Because not all skin folk is kinfolk. I'm talking about there's a mindset, there's a behavioral change, and you don't know enough about your culture to see the behavioral change that, wait a minute, we never did that. We never allowed for that to happen. We never said that about the Most High. We never used to walk and talk like that. That was never our language. That was never our belief system. That was never our customs. We never treated our women like that. We never treated our men like that. We never treated our children like that. We never were anything less than royalty. Why are we doing that? Parasites. You said, what if the host got purged and the parasite has to find a new host? They'll try to attach itself again. Well, that's what we were talking about earlier too, right? That we don't even take that into account. What are we doing to the next person when we cleanse? Right? If you're going to get rid of something, make sure you get rid of something in a manner that it's not going to affect the next generation or affect somebody else. Right? But right. But as a body, as one body here, right? We haven't even thought about the fact of we have these things that are in us all the time. And they're taking time out. They're ravenous. right? The reason why we say in our culture not to eat pork is not just because we want to tell you that we're better than somebody else because we eat, we don't eat pork and they do. When you eat pork, pork comes with parasites. And there's certain parasites that can't be cooked out of food. And there are people in here who are in the nursing profession. There are people in here in the medical field, right? There are people on here that are herbalists who will tell you that they've looked at people's charts and seen what happens to the brain over time. And people didn't know what was happening. Come to find out, yeah, this is coming from people eating pork. You can't cook certain things out of pork. You just can't. So we're not saying that because it's just something that we say is better. No, we're not saying that because we don't want you to have any fun because pork tastes fine and everything. No, no, no. Like, look, we're trying to say that because there's a parasite that comes with it. And once a parasite's in you, especially if you don't know about eating habits already, it don't take that long for a parasite to literally wipe out your brain, leaving white spots on the brain, leaving dead spots on a whole brain. How you doing, Miss Hibiscus? Yeah, using the words simp to describe men and things like that. Yeah, right. We've allowed parasites in, right? And people get mad because when you use the word is the greatest cleanser. Hallelujah, right? The word of Yah is the greatest cleanser that y'all have ever seen in your life. And y'all get frustrated by the word because the word cleanses. Somebody who's a parasite doesn't like the word. You hear what I'm saying? I'm just gonna be honest with you, right? Now, a parasite, though, you must recognize a parasite does what a parasite does. I'm not mad at a parasite for being a parasite. I just don't want the parasite to be attached to my body. You could think somewhat like a sentinel in the Matrix. I don't know if I call a sentinel like a parasite, but it moves like some parasites for sure. They did some things to make it feel like that, to make it feel slimy for you, right? I'm not mad at a parasite for being a parasite. I just know what a parasite is. Going back to confidants. Remember I was talking about confidants and constituents? A confidant for you. A constituent is just for what you are for. So if somebody comes up to me and they're for what I'm for, I'm not mad at them. Matter of fact, I might chill with you. We might hang. I might allow you to do certain things, but I'm never going to put you in a position. See, a lot of them, they want me to put them in a position where you're going to be right-hand man. You're going to be the one that's doing this. You're going to be the one in charge of this, blah, blah. I can't give that to you. You know why? I can't let you be over my family's this and that or whatever because I know your behavior. I already know what it is. I know what time it is. When I see a parasite, when I see somebody who, and look, it's not because you're a bad person. Once again, there are certain parasites that I would use on somebody's body in natural medicine, right? If we were talking natural medicine, there's certain things that are out there that would bless you. There's certain times you want to use a leech. Even nowadays, this isn't something that's ancient only, right? Somebody acts like we don't do that. That's stuff that's still done in hospitals to this day. There's certain things to where, hey, we want to make sure that that skin that's dying, that cancerous stuff, or that thing that's gangrene, whatever, and if we're not careful, it's going to start killing the rest of the body. Hey, let's get a parasite to eat that real quick. And when the parasites eat it, when the leeches eat that dead stuff, because that's what leeches do. They focus on things that are dead. So in a sense, parasites, if used correctly, they can cleanse. And thank you for the love, right? Problem is we don't know how to identify parasites, and we don't even know when they should be used, when we should allow them, when we should accept them or not. We just out here letting anything ride, letting it all fly, letting it all hang out, so to speak, right? So goes the old saying, right? Some people use maggots, yeah, right? But you got to know what these things are, and you got to know when it's even acceptable to use these things. Is it even acceptable to use these? I apologize. I came all the way over here. I got a feeling that they're gonna mow the lawn over here. I literally came all the way over here just to make sure. Took this long walk, so I might have to relocate in a second if I get right. There's a lot of people who don't comprehend what's going on with this parasitical behavior. There are a lot of people who don't recognize that you're dealing with parasites. And when you're dealing with, you need to know when it's a parasite. You need to know when this is something that if it's unchecked, it will take over the body. You need to have control over the parasite. You need to have control. See, watch this. Ain't nothing worse when somebody comes to me talking about, Pastor Kofi, can you help me in my relationship? And I start listening and I realize real quick, ooh, you got involved with a parasite. I can't say that to him just off the cuff. I got to hang in there a little bit and see. But I start listening and I go, oof, yeah, that sounds like somebody who's feeding. And by the way, we can praise y'all for miracles. We can help what's a parasite to become something that actually, is proper and is something that can be part of the body. You said, can parasites play a part in smoking? Yeah, it depends. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that question. I would say yes, but I don't know how qualified I am to really go deep into that. And also depends on what you're smoking. But I'm not really qualified, so I'm gonna let that one sit there if that's okay. Right. But you hear what I'm saying? Like a lot of people see, this is why we tell people in our culture, we don't deal with dating. In the Bible, you've never seen in the Bible anything about dating. Now you've seen in churches. I didn't say you ain't seen in your church. I ain't seen Christian mingles or Christian singles or whatever they call the stuff, right? I didn't say you ain't seen that. I'm talking about in the Bible, in the canon. You've never seen that. You know why? Because why would you get with somebody without thinking about marriage only? We don't do dating in the kingdom of heaven. We only do marriage. And you're presented with marriage. You're trained to be married from the time you were born. Everything in my life is training me to be a man, a husband, a father. I'm given an inheritance. I'm told to work the inheritance. When I finish working the inheritance, then I go ahead and I come back in front of y'all. Like that's what it's supposed to be. Every time. Every time. That's what it's supposed to be. Right? But that's not what you're given, right? You're given parasitical behavior to where somebody's going to date you. Y'all going to get just what you need off of each other. And maybe if you like getting what you need off each other, then maybe you'll try to take that parasite behavior into something that you want to call marriage. Right? That's what you've been taught. Real talk. That's what you were taught. You were taught to have parasitical behavior. You call it dating. Yeah, that's why Jacob paid 14 years of work for Leah and Rachel. Really, he only wanted to pay 7 years for Rachel. He was tricked, but he still loved Rachel enough, even after she tricked him, to where he worked 14 years. It was always for Rachel. That's why Leah got messed up in it, right? So she was a parasite. She got what parasites get. Now, Yah still blessed her. That's why her fourth child is named Yehovah or Judah, because she finally got it and she began to praise Yah rather than think that she needed to be dealing with parasite behavior and making some man happy or getting her happiness from some man, rather than making sure that the Most High, who's ultimately her first husband and only husband at the end of the day, like she got what she needed from him, right? But see, you're dealing with a lot of people who are in the parasitical behavior. You were taught to date somebody to get whatever you can out of the dating, right? Like there are people, like you ain't got to admit who this is or not, but we're not gonna act like this doesn't happen. So when I talk about this as far as men and women, right? Like don't act like you ain't never heard of this, even if you never done it, right? I'm not asking you to say what you have or haven't done, right? But let's just be real. There are people who have gone on dates because they were bored. That let's keep it a buck. There are people who have gone on dates, not worried about if this is gonna be marriage, not worried about what it's gonna do, not worried about if this will help my child, not worried about if this will feed me anything that's going to be look, some people have just been like, man, I ain't got nothing to do. This dude asked me out. He's acceptable. He ain't gonna make me look bad. Or even if he's gonna make me look bad, I just tell him to take me, somewhere where none of my friends can see. I got something to do. Hey, cool. All right, I'm finished. I'll say, yeah, maybe I'll call him and I ghost him. Who cares? Right? There are brothers who have gone on dates only because they're hoping that if they take this girl on this date, they've studied her enough to be able to say, if I take her on this type of date, I probably can hit that. You hear what I'm saying? Like there are guys who have literally peeped game, right? Went to the club, was out at the beach, whatever, and looked around, was like, Oh man, look at the way she present herself. Shoot, if I take her, if I take her somewhere for like $20 a plate, she probably think I got it like that or whatever. She already out on the beach. Look at how she throwing it out there anyway. He might be completely wrong. I'm just saying, but there's brothers that was the way that they approach parasite, right? And somehow, some way, we allow that to become 6 month, 1 year, 6 year relationship. Some of y'all get married and 20 years down the road, you're trying to figure out you got with a parasite and never checked the parasite, never cleansed them. Never said that, hey, if I'm gonna use this parasite, bare minimum, I gotta at least make sure. Now, if you gotta be in a marriage where you gotta be controlling over somebody, you probably shouldn't have that anyway. But if you're gonna be with a parasite, you should at least know how to make sure that the parasite is used to help the body and not harm it. Hey, shalom, how you doing, Angel? You said the parasite can mess with your whole being, such as your attitude, the way you look, speak, smell, the way you talk, walk, and the way you do your job, emotions, etc., all because of a little bitty worm. How you doing, Makian? Shalom to you. Ain't Yeah, facts, no secrets in that. Heck, I'm bored now, but I'm ducking parasites. Yeah, you know. But yeah, you have a lot of people who are into parasitical behavior. They behave like parasites. They only showed up because they're parasites. And so you have a lot of people who do these things quite often. They're only around to be able to get what they need out of it, right? You have a system set up. You have a system set up. I know y'all ain't gonna like this part, but it is what it is. We gotta admit that there's a system set up. There's a corporation set up. There's a beast set up. All it's supposed to be is to feed off you. It dates you, but it's not trying to be married to you, right? It likes you, it likes you being in a relationship, but it's not gonna give you what you need. Uh-oh. Salah. But Ashe. Right? Like you gotta realize you have been taught to deal with parasites. This is why we were talking about school so much yesterday. School is parasites. The school system is a parasite. They want you to come in, leave yourself at the door, and become somebody who's ready to be used at a 9 to 5, at least one 9 to 5, for the rest of your life, and hope and put your hope and faith in that, hey, you can look back, say you had some children, some grandchildren, and that you can go on vacation from time to time. What kind of nation are you building off of that? Is there any nation building off of that? Can we build any nations off of that? Right? You think that your responsibility is to build a United States corporation. When are you going to build your nation? When are you going to build your nation? You hear what I'm saying? Like, when are you going to support your brother or sister in their business venture? I get it. You have to go to Costco right now, right? You have to go to the supermarket right now. You have to go. But there's somebody out there that literally is giving the same thing that somebody else is giving. When do you start sowing into them? See, nation building is extremely important. And we have a parasite mindset. We think it's okay to allow people to feed off of us and never make sure that we are fed. Like, if anything, if I'm gonna do business with somebody else, y'all gonna make sure at least I get fed. If my children gonna have to go to your school, my children's business is at least gonna get planted, right? Like, what kind of sense does it make? This is one of the reasons why I homeschool. Why would I send my child to somebody else's school when you told me straight up that you don't even respect my child enough to be able to tell him about where his people come from? No shade meant at you. Just keep it at the buck, right? At some point, you have to have something, like, and people say, well, we don't have the like, watch this, because we are so into parasite behavior. We're like, if we don't do it the way the parasite tells us to do it, it can't be. So we go, well, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the buildings, we don't have enough money to make this and do this and blah blah. It's like, why can't y'all meet at somebody's house? Why can't y'all come outside somewhere, sit down in the grass, Children learn better outside anyways. Right? Children go outside anyways. They learn better outside anyways. Why can't you? Right? We're gonna be doing on Zoom this Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern New York time. Those who are doing homeschooling, we're gonna start our homeschooling stuff. Right? Every Saturday we can. I think it's every Saturday. I got to double check. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be every Saturday. Right? So somebody else is gonna say, "Well, my child can't. My child can't. My child can't. I don't know how to home. I don't know how to do. I don't know how to teach." Right? We got you now. So the question is not, can you do it? The question is, will you? Right? And if you want to use somebody else, that's fine. I don't, if you feel like for whatever reason we can't help, right? But hear what I'm saying. Like we did this last Saturday. We gave you a little glimpse at the fact that we could teach the children and to teach the older children when the younger children lost their interest, and to be able to go into the adults and be able to give something that a lot of people aren't getting. Right? And they got your child stuck in the building for 7, 8 hours. Question. Um, question for you. See, parasite behavior. The same parasites that do this to you as an adult, they do it to your children. So question, do you like being in a cubicle for 8 hours a day? How you doing, Nairobi? Do you enjoy cubicle life 8 hours a day? Do you enjoy warehouse life 8 hours a day? Do you enjoy saying, may I take your order? And look, I used to be that person and I like serving people, right? But I'm gonna be honest, like, do you like saying, may I take your order 8 hours a day? Do you love it? Do you wake up excited? Do you wake up excited for your paycheck every day? And see, parasites have now gotten into motivational speaking. So they'll say, you should be excited. Be excited about the grind. Be excited about the dollars because you ain't have to have nothing. No, like if that's not what you called to be, why would you be that excited? Right? Be grateful, be thankful, right? But at the same time, if that's not what you called to do, at some point I should be ready to do something else. I should become unemployable. I should be that person to where when you look at, see, they want that, see, parasite behavior would tell you, see, there's parasites that would try to feed in. They do it from time to time. They come on the live sessions, they'll say, why are you talking? Get a job, do this, you act just like this, you're not going anywhere. I don't need a job. I was not called to toil for somebody else. Right? I tried. I asked y'all for years. I've got more references. I've got more stuff I can put on resumes than about 99% of y'all. And y'all still wouldn't take me. Even when I had the haircut and I had the suit and I had the tie and I had and I wanted to give you all my time. And I was spending so much time learning how to put out resumes that I wasn't even getting into studying the word. I was doing that for churches, asking churches, begging churches for the opportunity to do what I'm doing now. And I said, you know what? Rather than beg somebody else to do it through their prison, why don't I just do what I'm called to do? But there's a parasite that will come by and say, no, see, that's wrong. Let me take away from you. Let me say you got to do what everybody else does. Let me do this. Like there's a lot of people, they say stuff like, you look like a pastor. They used to say that. Now nobody says you look like a pastor. I would say I'm more qualified to be a pastor than I ever have been in my life before. Right? But see, parasites would have me take off who I am to be able to put on who I'm not. Oh, that's a word for somebody. You hear what I'm saying? Parasites would have me take off who I am to put on who I am not. That's parasite behavior. Parasites, they attach themselves to a host. And then they say that I'm going to take what's there, right? Why would I take off who I am and put on who I am not? And why would somebody not respect my culture? Whether you want to talk about the culture that I carry as far as being Shwe, the culture of being Tsalagi, the culture of being Yashlael, the culture of being et cetera, Kemet, whatever it is, why would I take off my culture and put on something else? You don't expect you to put on off your culture. Matter of fact, the person who's on the company, see, this is why you got to have some stuff and be about your business and be about your work rather than having to job out or toil for somebody else. See, whoever you're working for, whoever you're jobbing out to, you have to put on their culture. Amen, Sister Monica. Thank you. Come on. See, we don't catch it. Whoever I'm working for, whoever I'm jobbing out to, I have to obey their culture. This is why culture is extremely important. How you doing, Shadallah? Right? Whoever I'm jobbing out to, that's who I put on. I put on whoever I work for. right? Whoever I work for is what I put on. This is why I come home, ladies, or sisters. Excuse me, forgive me for calling y'all that, because ladies and gentlemen are not what we think they are, right? But this is why I come home, sisters, and I'm so frustrated because I've had to put on everything else, be disrespected, be disheveled, all this stuff. People not like who I am. People tell me that I don't fit in. People tell me I can't be this, I can't be that. I come home, and you know what I want when I say I want peace? I just want to be somewhere where I feel like I'm accepted because nobody cares about me, right? Nobody cares about who I am. I've had to take off who I am. I've had to put on a mask over who I am for so long. Sometimes I'll be forgetting who I am. And then I'll be in the middle of my job and I say, wait a minute, I don't even want this. Ugh, I guess I have to do this though, because I got to make sure my family's taken care of. All right. And I come home, at least after doing that, that's what I mean by peace. That's what he means by peace. He doesn't mean that you bad, that you terrible, that this and that. What he means by peace is, look, I've had somebody else on for so long. I've had on so many masks. I've had on so many clothes. I've had on so many costumes. Right? I haven't been able to have my skin breathe. I just like to be able to be myself. That's what he's saying. You hear what I'm saying? That's what he's saying. He said they can't get over the letter J didn't exist prior to 1,000 to 1,500. That's hard left hook and an uppercut to overcome. Yeah. And it's culture. At some point, my culture should be able to be just as valuable, if not more so, to me than yours is to you. They keep talking about the patriarchy. Thank you for the love, appreciate it. The patriarchy this, the patriarchy this, the patriarchy this. In my culture, patriarchs are different than yours. In my culture, you know that queens in your culture didn't even take but one bath a year, and they were supposed to, maybe sometimes two, and they were supposed to set the standard for beauty in women. They took way more than all the other women took. In your culture, you believed it was okay. That's why y'all say that you don't like rats, right? Because you had the bubonic plague because nobody washed themselves, right? But you would dare say that we had the same culture. And I'm not trying to say that you dirty this and that only. I'm saying there's a lot of different things, right? Like you'll say in your culture, she looks great coming down the aisle in a white dress. In my culture, right? In my culture, even if you want to look at your Bible, because y'all Christians say that y'all follow this, but you've never seen in this, you've never seen anybody in a white dress walk down the aisle. So I tell my people, have a private contract and walk down, and don't worry about walking down the aisle. Have a ceremony with family the way that we do. Make sure that you do things the way the Bible says, and get married. Marriage in the Bible is sex. Sex is marriage. By the way, same thing for y'all. Your marriage is not a true marriage until it's consummated. If it's never consummated, it can be annulled. How you doing, Sister Tori? Right. So we know this stuff to be true. We know this stuff to be true, but you won't live by the culture. So here comes somebody like little old me saying, "Hey, maybe I should live by what was always mandated, what was always mandatory. Maybe it's okay for me to live by what was always mandatory and stop trying to live by something that was false. Like maybe I should uplift my own culture. Maybe I should wear what I wear. Maybe it's okay for me to do so. And if you have a problem with it, hey, you have a problem with it, but that's not my problem. And see, but when I say that, you live in a parasitical culture. Here comes the parasite. They're gonna latch on to you. Up, see, this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong with you guys. You guys are never gonna come out. See, he won't go ahead and live like us. He won't go ahead and make sure he has the suit and tie. He's trying not to pay taxes. See, he's un-American. Blah blah. No, like your law says I don't have to pay that. I render Caesar's things unto Caesar's. I looked at what Caesar said. I looked at what you wrote, Rome. You said I don't have to do that. Why? See, now you out here lying. See, I'm a lion, but you out here lying, right? I come from the lion of the tribe of Judah. You just straight lying. So at some point, somebody should call it out. Why not us? At some point, right? Somebody should call it out. Why not us? At some point, if doing something without value keeps giving me, right? If some point having a parasite attached to my body keeps making sure that I can't get out of the food that I'm supposed to get, why not make sure that I kill the parasite? Even the Bible says that a witch doesn't deserve to live. I'm not saying we need to kill people physically, right? But spiritually, there's some stuff that got to go. If you want to be who you called to be, something got to give. I'm here to tell you, something got to give. Something's got to stop. Something that you're doing can't be the same as what it's been. You keep doing the same thing, getting the same results, and you call it the opposite of insanity. You call it greatness. You say that you're grateful to be in an insane situation. You still going through the same trauma. You still can't forgive. Oh, that's a big one. You hear what I'm saying? You're still beefing with people. You beefing with people who dead. There's a parasite that's eating off you. Who's that person you can't forgive? It's become a parasite. Who's that person you can't forgive? Who's that person you can't forgive? I want you to think about it. Who's that person that you can't forgive? That's a parasite. There's somebody that's been dead, moved on, but you've allowed generations of their parasite to be in you. Who's that parasite that you can't forgive? Right? You've allowed the parasite to stay. They gone. They might have changed their behavior and everything, but you still got them straight up stuck in you. Did something in 1987, and we still sitting up here having conversations about them like they still around today. That's a parasite. That's a parasite. That's straight up parasite behavior, and it's time for us to get outside of parasite behavior. Right? Some of you have fallen in love with the parasite. Some of you have had the parasite in you for so long. See, watch this. Here's another thing that happens with parasites. You ready for this? Here's another thing that happens with parasites. If you're not careful, you get so used to the parasite. Hear what I'm about to tell you? I'm about to put you on. If you're not careful, you get so used to the parasite. If you're not careful, right, you're going to get so used to the parasite that what happens is you'll actually begin, when the parasite begins to die, you'll feel like you're dying. Did you catch that? When the parasite begins to die, you'll feel like you're dying, right? Because the parasite's been attached to your body for so long. It's been given instruction for so long. You've been dealing with it for so long. It's been directing you what to eat, how to sleep. It's been waking you up out of your sleep sometimes. It's been forcing you to use the restroom at times because it's trying through your fecal matter or through your urine sometimes to make sure that it gets the parasite out to something else. That's what it's designed to do. And so you're so stuck on the parasite. You're so led by the parasite. The parasitical behavior has affected you so much that for many, you actually, when the parasite begins to die, you begin to think that you begin to get more out of that struggle than what you should, or you begin to give more life to it than you should. The parasite is dying. The parasite is dead. It's not there anymore. You don't have to obey it anymore. You don't have to let it be connected. But because when you go through a cleansing process, it feels like you're dying because this parasite, this soul tie, has become a part of who you are. You said these new age men who don't know that they're cowards will beef with you through women. You won't even know they're talking about parasitic behavior. That's another type of parasite for sure. How you doing, Rob? See, I'm sorry. You said I took sour sop and black seed oil for my allergies for a week, and I saw parasites when you blow on your nose. Okay. How you doing, Marley? Right. So if you're not careful, yeah. If you're not careful, yeah, and see the fear, right? When the see, watch this. A lot of times when you feel pain, when the parasite's going away, you know what's happening? The parasite is actually afraid. I know you wouldn't think that a parasite would have feelings, emotions, things like that, like you do, right? I know you don't think that trees, you know, actually feel pain. They told y'all stuff like that, and that they used to say fish don't feel pain and things like that, right? They tell you things like that because people who feed off of things, they don't want to tell you the natural order of things sometimes because they don't want you to feel bad about actually living, in a natural environment. But see, a parasite, right? A parasite is something that it has emotions too. It knows when it's about to be killed. So when a parasite is attached to your body like that and you begin to kill it, it starts giving instructions. It starts crying out. It starts throwing a hissy fit, right? You've been feeding that parasite all types of sugars and all types of things that allow it to have all this energy to be able to increase what it's doing and be able to put more offspring out into you and then ultimately into the world. And so it's so excited about it, right? And so many different things that are going on with you, right? You're having this experience. You're having this experience and not realizing that the parasite knows it's dying. So when it knows it's dying, what does it do? It makes you feel like because it is dying, it tells you, it sends a signal saying that if I die, then you must be dying. See, here's the secret about parasites. The parasite is nothing without you, but you are everything without it. Salah. Did you catch that? Right? Here's the secret about a parasite. That parasite, that person that exhibits parasitical behavior, they are nothing without you. They must keep you in a perpetual state of fear or of pain or of anguish or of frustration so that you will always say, I need the parasite. There are many people that believe that they are nothing without the parasite. They think they cannot survive without the parasite. Some of you think your livelihood is connected to the parasite. If I don't have the parasite, who am I? All I've known is something feeding off of me, right? But if I get cleansed, it hurts. The cleansing hurts. The fasting hurts. The giving up hurts. The giving up time hurts. The being frustrated. The being honest about who I am and where I am and what I'm going through. These things hurt. Yeah. But I promise you, it's better to not have a parasite than it is to have one. See, just because you've had a parasite your whole life doesn't mean that that's best for you. How you doing, Coco? Right? Just because you've dealt with a system that's stolen every idea you've ever put out there before doesn't mean that you should be in a system that steals every idea from you. Right? Come on, somebody. Right? Just because you've been in relationship after relationship after relationship where everybody caused you hell doesn't mean that there's not a relationship for you out there that won't cause you hell. See, some of y'all are going through stuff. Oh, I feel this right here. See, some of y'all going through stuff. I'll praise y'all, author, right? Some of y'all are going through stuff because you feel like the only way to go through it is to have the parasite still attached. You be looking for stuff that reminds you of parasite. You get scared of the sister that actually comes without the drama. You get scared of the brother that comes with the affection and the security. You get afraid of the community that actually starts speaking certain things because it can't be true. I've been hurt too many times. I've come from this church. I've come from this organization. I've come from this job. I've come from this. I've come from that. I've come from that. There's no way that this stuff can actually be there to be a benefit to me and to be a blessing to me and to be a blessing to my family. There's no way I could do that. But what if I were to tell you that you can live better without parasites than you can with them? Right? Like dig on this, right? Feel me, right? Hear what I'm saying. I know it's difficult to believe if your whole life has been involved, right? Has basically been something attached to parasites. It's difficult to believe that the next person that you meet won't be a parasite, right? Matter of fact, some of you will not release parasites. Well, that's my friend from Junior high, I've known them since they was knee high from a grass scalper. That's my ace boom cone, or whatever y'all say. I never really knew how that one went. Forgive me, right, if I said that one wrong. But we'll hold on to stuff. That thing is a parasite. Let it go. It must die. And yes, it's gonna hurt because it's been connected to you for so long that you think that that's part of your body. You think that that's something that's part of your body. That's a parasite. You think it's natural to have that thing there because you've never lived without it. I've never lived in a place where there's love, where people genuinely just love who I am. I've never been in a place to where I can admit my faults and somebody will say, you know what, yeah, that was bad, this and that. I'm so glad that you're here though, right? Like it's time to kill the parasite. I'm going hunting for parasites, if you didn't notice already, right? Today, I've come to kill any demonic parasite. It's time to release the people. But see, you got to help me, people of Yah, because I can speak over a parasite all day. But if you keep eating the same stuff that parasites have, right? Parasites inhabit, then we still gonna have a parasite problem. You hear what I'm saying? Right? I speak over your life, all this stuff, right? Not because I'm all that, but because I'm telling you, as somebody who had parasites in his life and still deals with them from time to time, right? I know what it is to cleanse myself and to not eat the same thing, or to not make sure that the food that I'm eating is cleansed or legal, lawful, to make sure that it's clean as it's entering into my body. No matter what as palatable to me, not everything that's palatable or that tastes great to me means that I need to eat it, especially if it's not clean, if it's not lawful, if it's not of Yehovah, if it's not of the Most High. But I can go ahead and make sure that I do that all day. But if you and I can speak these words and say, hey, let's do this together. Let's be cleansed. Let's fast from this wicked system. Let's come out of these wicked ways. Let's stop dealing with this stuff. Let's stop dealing with this. Let's stop dealing with it. I mean, I could say it and preach it and teach it and live it before thee. I can live it with you. But if you're going to still say, well, you know what? I know that you serving up something on the plate that says that this is clean and palatable, is going to bless me, but I'd rather go ahead because somebody put a little extra something on this that may not be something that's going to be righteous, but it's palatable, then it doesn't matter, right? And so we're having a problem here, Yashara, because now we know we can identify the parasite. We can call it out. The question is not, can we identify it as much as it used to be? For some of us, it still is, and that's okay because we're all growing, right? So, but it's not so much we know we can't figure out that this is a fictitious system. It's not so much we can't look up law 28 USC 300215A. This is a corporation. It's not so much that we can't see. Wait a minute, like my uppercase name, all caps. That's not even who I am. That's a straw man. That's a fictitious thing made up by a fictitious corporation. It's not so much that we can't identify that George Washington's not even the first president, because there were at least 8 presidents, no matter what your belief is. There's at least 8 that came before him. It's not so much that we don't know that it's not there. Now is we're not letting go of the system. And if you won't let go, see, the parasite is going to latch on to you no matter what. The problem is not whether the parasite is going to latch on to you. The parasite does what the parasite does. Problem is that some of us are busy latching on to it. The parasite is dying off, and we keep feeding the parasite and trying our best. Oh, leech, come on, get back on there. What you doing? Get back on there. What you doing? I'm not used to having this much blood in my body. I'm not used to having this much life inside of me. What you doing? Don't leave me out here to where now I'm just going to have to experience life. Like, it sounds weird. It sounds crazy. But how many people do you, some of us, if we be honest, it's us, right? But how many people do you know to where they've been afraid to experience life because they've been so used to the parasite? Afraid to experience life. I've come that you might have life and more abundantly. And somebody looks at it and says, well, I can't follow Yeshua because I would, but I mean, I'm not used to being alive. I'm used to being dead. I'm out. And they leave. You hear what I'm saying? They leave, not because it's not life, but because they're used to death. They're used to somebody sucking the life out of them. And when somebody says, I want you to go ahead and experience life, that's a fear. That some people are afraid of that because they've never had an opportunity to see what it looks like to live their lives. Some people say live your best life. Some people have never lived their lives. I'm living my best life. Some people have never lived their life. Right? You've been around people who take life. Yahshua says, I'm not a parasite. I've come that you might have life and have and therefore more abundantly. The devil comes what? To steal, to kill, and then ultimately destroy. A parasite doesn't care if they steal your life essence. They don't mind if it kills you. Matter of fact, they don't mind if your body's destroyed, as long as they can make sure that generations of parasites continue and will somehow make it from your dead corpse to somebody else's body. They could care less. Just living in chaos for so long. Yeah, right. And the person who's lived in chaos their whole life, guess what? Peace looks like chaos. You living in a reverse system. You living in a mirror system. You think that this is peace. But what if peace is facing this way? And until you repent, you'll never experience peace. And you got to look at peace for a long time, because see for you, peace is there's somebody right now who could be digesting this word, who could be sifting through this, who could be making sure that the devil's not sifting them, that he might devour them, that he might, sifting them as wheat, that he might be able to devour them, excuse me. But guess what? Guess what peace looks like to them? Peace is them being on the street corner, making sure the cops can't see that they selling, got that thing on them or whatever, and got respect from everybody, because even though they know eventually they're going to go to jail, right now, at least they can go ahead and they can be the biggest person on the block till they 22, 23, 24, 25 at the most. And then when they hit 25, right, they already done did some time in juvie or whatever. But right, the person in juvie, the person that's 14, 15 or whatever, they'll kill somebody and know that, hey, I'm only going to do 2-3 years in juvie anyways. When I come out, now I'm going to be the biggest, baddest dude out here because I got a teardrop. Right? And then they'll go ahead and kill somebody else eventually. And then they're going to be in jail for the rest of their natural life. If not at least 25 years. And then they finish doing 25. And they come out. And now this time they're like, wait a minute, nobody got no love for me. Nobody got a business opportunity for me. Nobody made sure my family was taken care of. My girl ain't with me no more. This and that, whatever. Yeah, like what you thought this was. You're dealing in a system, even out there on the street, there's parasites. You think that somebody who would have you hold their gun for them because the police are coming, they having you hold their gun because they know they can trust you and the police will go ahead and do, no. Like they're having you hold their gun because if you get caught with it, hey, better you than them. And hey, in the streets, we don't snitch. Now you ain't shot nobody, but because you ain't a snitch, you're going to go ahead and do that. So now you literally lived out somebody's death sentence. If that's not a parasite, I don't know what is. Right? But you're in a system to where before you get to the jail cell that closes before you and takes away that physical freedom, you're already in a space to where you're okay with somebody being a parasite, leeching off you and taking your life because you're not supposed to be a snitch or a rat. Once again, I ain't never had no problem. I'm not saying that I want rats in my house or nothing, but I'm just saying I ain't never had no problem with rats because we clean out here in my culture. That's your problem. Italian mafioso, y'all don't like rats. Where we come from, if people kill people, we should make sure the people that kill people are away from people and that they serve a punishment. Call me a rat, whatever you want, fine, right? But if you kill somebody in my community and you selling drugs to everybody else, and you're going to put a 16-year-old in jail, or you're going to put a 20-year-old in jail, and you're going to say, well, it's your first offense, it's not going to do anything. You're going to take years of their life away. And then when they come out, you're going to be like, thanks for not snitching, and that's their reward. Like, you killing your community, you deserve death. I don't care. Look, love me, Joey the Crack. Fat Joe got a lot of great stuff to say, for real, for real. Fat Joe, I get it. You don't like rats and this and that. That's what you signed up for. Like you would say though, even like, and I'm military, so I get this, Fat Joe. I'm not a right. I'm a civilian according to you, right? And I got to protect my community from people who say that you should go ahead and somebody in my community should go to jail. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. I think he would agree with that part of it, if not the whole thing I'm saying. Right? At some point, you got to say to yourself, like, whose stuff are we taking on? This don't sound like us. Like, this doesn't sound like us. Yeah, don't do no dirt in front of me, right? Right? Now, are there things we should be able to handle within our community? Sure, but we got to become a community. In the meantime, though, hey, look, for real, I'm just being honest. Like, I travel. Don't have me be in South Side Chicago. Don't have me be in Southeast DC or even Northeast DC. Don't have me be up there in Philly. Don't have me be up in NYC, in the Bronx, Staten Island, Brooklyn, right? Whatever, right? Don't have me in Miami. Don't have me over in Pensacola. Don't have me over in Oaktown. Don't have me over in all these places or whatever in Phoenix and stuff. And you gonna shoot somebody? And you're somebody who's making sure that you're killing our children with drugs and stuff? Oh no, like something gonna happen. Like when we get this community together, we get this land. Like we might have that thing for you. You try to bring that on our land. You know what I'm saying? We might have that thing for it. Like we're not playing with you. A witch deserves to be put to death. A witch is anybody that will control somebody else. A witchcraft is when you craft or create things to be able to go ahead and control people's lives. That's what drugs are. Somebody on drugs. I'm not saying weed. I don't even think of weed as being a drug or sativa. Well, sativa a little different, but even sativa or things like that. Like I'm not worried about all that stuff, whatever. That's a herb, and technically you shouldn't smoke them. You should eat them anyways, right? But when you're doing stuff that's controlling people, when you getting crack, you even took cocaine, which okay, I guess we could use it for medicinal purposes from time to time. But you using that thing and then made it crack specifically for the environment, for the community. You are a witch, and witches deserve to be put to death. That spirit deserves to be killed. How you doing, Granny Side? Yo, Granny, how you doing? How you doing? Thanks for being part of the community. You said that's the government. They control. Yeah. See, here's the thing that a lot of people don't even comprehend. See, we're talking about parasites today, right? The system is sus. Is the series, right? The system is sus. This wicked system is sus. It's suspect, right? And this parasite behavior. People don't recognize that every biggest gang that you know is government controlled. There, I said it. So all these people talking about you ain't a rat and this and that or whatever. Every gang you in, somebody's a rat. That's the way that works. Somebody in every gang that you in is a rat. There's no exception. Zero. Settle. Right? I don't even know if this is how you say it, but settle exception. Right? There's no exception. In every gang that exists, they are gang affiliated. This goes back to the times of Rome and the times of Greece. The Senate used to straight up, now they play it off and they go through somebody. They go through a front or a straw man. They go through a front. Somebody else represents that person and talks to the people for them, right? That's what happened with stuff when they were putting crack out there, right? And Freeway Ricky Ross and stuff like that. He would talk to the front, but he knew that the front represented, you know, George Bush, Ronald Reagan, people like that. He knew who he was talking to. He just was talking to the front. He was having a conversation, right? But this goes back to the times of Greece and the times of Rome. The senators, they used to just straight up go out there with gangs, and the gangs would go out and senators would have fights in the street. Senators would die over people trying to figure out whose legislation was going to pass. And these people would get paid off, and they would get them so hyped up, and they would get them so emotional about it. And they get them to throw up their little signs and I mean, the same stuff y'all do today. They were doing all that stuff. Like y'all throw up them Greek letters and stuff. Like they control you the same way. They got you in these little gangs that are part of Freemasonry. That's part of that pyramid and stuff. Y'all call it the Illuminati and stuff like that. They're doing the same thing today. And they have all these things or whatever, but they have them out there. They be throwing up signs. They be talking about we gonna kill so-and-so. Yeah, what's going, like they doing the same thing. Same thing y'all see in the music videos and people doing this with the beer and all that stuff, or they favorite alcohol or whatever. Like they were doing the same thing back then, except then they didn't go through a front man, they didn't go through a straw man, they just went directly out there. The senator might die because he was out there, he had to have his weapon out there too. He was the general, he was the gang leader. Now he's the gang leader, but he makes somebody else look like the gang leader. He's the front. They put on the front. That's where that term comes from. You putting on the front. In law, if you're talking about property law, if you look up what a straw man is concerning property law, a straw man in property law is when somebody wants to buy something, but rather than buy it by themselves, they put it through some kind of corporation, right? And they put it through that, and they let the corporation buy it on their behalf. It's called a straw man. Well, guess what? That's what the United States is. It's a front. It's a straw man. The real people who control you, they use the United States corporation by law, by legalese, by law, however you want to look at it. How you doing, Cause for Eyes? And they put that stuff out there and they have it directly in there. So you think that it's the government doing but no. The government can't even move. Do you know the Senate by law cannot even pass stuff, can't pass legislation? They have to make sure that people from corporations have to come in for certain things they're trying to pass in order for them to make them law. It's on the books. You think it's random? Like, watch this. This is how crazy this is, even for your children. You don't even think about this, right? You think it's random that Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, for those who know this name, this is wrestling, professional wrestling people. Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, or Paul Levesque, whatever his real name is, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, all their children, all this stuff. You think it's random that they showed up in the White House? You think that's random? Oh, if so, see, we got to tell you how parasites work. Once again, they feed on you. You don't even realize, right? For those of you who know the names I'm talking about, Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon, they basically for years, for decades now, haven't even been really a real couple. They were always a business couple, right? Or especially at a certain point, right? And they showed up there with Trump. Now, people, if you know about WWE stuff and you go back to your childhood, right, or not even your childhood, some of you it's your childhood, right? Some of us is a little after our childhood, right? But you go back to what is it, 2004, 5, 6, maybe, I don't know. Donald Trump back then came on WWE stuff. And if you go back to like some of the WrestleManias, I think in like the 80s and the 90s, they used to do some of that stuff in Donald Trump's hotels. This was business whole time. Donald Trump was telling y'all back then that he was a Democrat, right? And he was doing stuff with the Clintons. He was doing stuff, right, with Vince McMahon and all that. Now, Vince McMahon, a Republican. But Donald Trump came on Oprah's show and said that he's a Democrat, and he said that if he ever ran, he'd run Republican because he knows that Republicans are easy to trick. This is business stuff going on, right? Y'all don't know, like the same people that are sewing. Donald Trump's family is married into the Clinton family, but they was running against each other. Y'all think that all these people are against each other, right? Long story short, right? He kept his connection with both sides. He was getting what he needed. Then when he needed to run, he went ahead and he got money for the WWE side. Now, Linda McMahon, if you don't know this, Vince McMahon's wife, she was trying to run for office or run for Senate or something for a while. She lost like 2 times in a row. The WWE was putting all their bank behind her. And Vince McMahon and her were not even sleeping in the same house at this point, but he was doing so because they had a business relationship. If she made it, then it meant that he was going to get some play. Right, so he was trying to put her in office. They couldn't afford to do it, but they always had Trump in the back pocket. Trump decides finally he's going to go ahead and go for it, and and go ahead and be president. And so they're going to allow it or whatever. The corporations, the major corporations, not just his, but the other people that are there, are like, okay, we'll allow this. He goes ahead in there. The church, the evangelicals, they go ahead and bow down. That's why Joel Osteen has his first. Excuse me. That's why Joel Osteen has his first. Radio show ever that he has on satellite radio. His first radio show, he puts Trump up because they had made a deal with the evangelicals. That's why you got to get off of this black-white thing. That's why there's a bunch of black churches and a bunch of black pastors who treated Trump the same way that the white pastors did, because Trump had made this under the table deal with them. They shook hands behind the scenes. It basically the conversation goes a little something like this. Hey, look, y'all know what time it is. You know that I'm ready to be president. You know that I really want this or whatever. Look, y'all feel like y'all ain't getting what y'all need because y'all know America's really not a Christian nation anyways, but there's certain things that y'all used to have more prestige over. You used to be able to say racist stuff. You used to be able to do this. You used to be able to have more control over schools. We used to look the other way about your money and stuff like that. I promise you I'll bring all that stuff back, but y'all got to look out for me, right? There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to come out about me, right? Like we know who I am. I need y'all to go ahead and put God behind it. Sprinkle some Jesus on this campaign and get the votes where they need to be. And I promise you, I'll give you whatever you need. That's why that happened the way it happened. That's why you had a black pastor tell everybody that Trump was more black than Obama was. That's why you had, a lot of pastors who still to this day are now all of a sudden they got into this whole Republican versus Democrat thing and brought it back the same way they did for Reagan. That's why they said make America great again. Ronald Reagan ran on the same thing with the same evangelicals in 1980, right? He ran on make America great again when he got voted in. Right now, what does it have to do with WWE? Right? I mentioned WWE. Well, how do we put this back? Well, you'll see that Donald Trump makes Linda McMahon, right, who Vince McMahon was already planting the seeds for, and was already saying, hey, when you get there, remember what this corporation did for you. I paid for this. I made your hotel look like this. I got you in a position. We've been supporting you behind the scenes. We're going to go ahead and give you money when you get in. This is what I need from you. He's the real lobbyist. Y'all think y'all are lobbyists or your little functions of lobbyists. Like for real, Donald Trump is getting paid by billionaires, right? Just like any president does. Obama did the same thing. Whoever you want to pull up does the same thing, right? But Trump gets all this money from these billionaires, and He's like, yo, if I do this, my wife is going to be in a position of power. So guess what? Trump becomes the president. All of a sudden, Linda McMahon, who has no clue what she's doing, she gets to be in the cabinet position. That's the way that works, right? Vince McMahon was leeching. His family was leeching off of this. His family was a parasite. They already knew what was going to happen. They make their money off of y'all who are still in the residence and your children and stuff like that. And by the way, I ain't mad at it. I'm just trying to tell you, they use your money and they use this. They use the prestige and everything. They use parasitical behavior. And then once they've been parasites long enough, right, they feed off of it and they get finally what they needed. So when Trump became president, then they became president. When Trump becomes president, now they have people on the cabinet. And I don't care who your favorite president is, all of them don't care about us. Right? I don't care who your favorite president is. All of them are presidents. They're the president of a corporation. They all work for a corporation. But a president's not always the CEO, are they? And see, you think that Trump was the CEO. Trump's not the CEO. He's just the president. I wish people recognize that, right? Like they're the president of a corporation. Trump was never had any power. Obama never had any power, for real, for real. I mean, they have more power than us. I'm not going to act like they had zero power. I'm saying it that way. That's not necessarily correct. But they're not in charge. He's a front. He's a straw man. That's what it is. When we teach class, right? If you know, we say this all the time. If you know what a straw man is, then you'll know what a front. You know, then you know if you know what a straw man is as far as the birth certificate, you'll comprehend a straw man and everything else in life, including when people try to take the Bible and they try to make straw man. You said Trump ran early on before and didn't make it. A few years ran again. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Like you gotta realize this is a corporative thing. This is a corporative thing you're dealing with, right? All the presidents, are they not all related by blood? So why are we even thinking that something's different? But they'll have people that are going to be so messed up. There's so many people that are like, I'm so glad I saw Obama being voted in because it told my child I could be anything. First of all, to tell your child they could be anything is a lie, because your child is not called to be anything. See, you already have parasite behavior where you allowed skin color. As much as I don't mind having conversation about skin color, you allow skin color to become a parasite now. You got to be careful what these people are doing to you. I mean, Eisenhower was black too. Lincoln was black too. Before Washington, at least one or two of them were black. I told y'all, I admit it. I was out of the voting game, so I went back in because Obama was black and voted. Didn't even care. Was in DC when he was there. Was in Chicago actually when he was there. Both nights, both historic nights, I was there. What did it do? What did it do? What did it teach my child? And see, we get mad when somebody who's on the other side of the bird, because the Republicans and Democrats are two wings on the same bird, but we get mad when they point it out. You can't get mad. It's the truth. Like, we did that. They used that. They appealed to something. They were parasites. I was out the game, y'all. I was parasite free. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I want to be part of this. What they told us. I want to be part of history. That's what they told us. I want to be part of history. And so, being part of history, what did I do? I wanted to make sure that I was part of his story, not the story, not the real story. I want to be part of his story. So I did it and got absolutely nothing like I get from any of these other presidents. Yeah, all skin ain't kinfolk, all skin ain't kindred, right? Right. And not all white folk are evil, and not all Indian people love you, not all Indian people are against you, not all Native Americans love their own, not all Native Americans, hate their own. Like, people are, sorry, a person's a person, right? And people are people. And see, what happens is what's happened. Once again, remember I told you, look it up for yourself. People is, according to law, is a nation. A person can be a natural person or an artificial person. So what's happened is you have a bunch of artificial persons that have become parasites to our people. Hey, Grand Rising to you, Sister Cap. You have a lot of parasites that become Parasites, artificial people who have become parasites, latched on to our people, right? Whether they look like us or not. You have a lot of parasites. You have a lot of people that will talk about, for example, let me even go outside of just the word of Yah, if I might, just a little bit. You have you have a lot of people who will say Kemet this and Kemet this and Kemet this. They don't know what they're talking about though. Talking about what's up, God. In Kemet, you would never say what's up, God, because in Kemet you don't have gods. You have Netchers. Netchers don't operate in the same place that gods do. Gods are Germanic, right? But because people are looking for anything they can to attach themselves to, rather than seeing if this is who I am as a people, as a nation, and let me make sure as a nation, this is what we do to uphold the culture. A lot of people are saying, nope, I'd rather go ahead and just latch on and just get just enough. Remember, I was telling you, even biblically speaking, a lot of people they want the Messiah not to be um their the Lord of hosts. They want him to be their host. They want to go ahead and just leech on to him. We like to have hosts, but we don't want to have a Lord of hosts. You said, is Michael a secret agent? Which one? I'm sorry. You said I've come to know the dealers who are Um, wow, I wasn't expecting that question. Maybe we can have a private conversation about it somewhat. I guess if you say you come to know the dealers who are dealing with that stuff or whatever, I mean, really, you got to deal with, I guess, the connection to the husband. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can really answer that publicly, but I guess we could try to have a conversation about it. I don't know if I can really answer that specifically right now, especially because I probably need a lot more information than I probably be able to read. But yeah, feel free to text me or something, or even call me after the live is done. I got something at 1 your time and something at 2, but maybe we can do something before that. Do I believe that Enoch and Jasher are canonical? Yes, I do. Do I believe that many people are interpreting them correctly all the time? Not necessarily. Right. But getting back to and how you doing, Miss Renaissance, and how you doing? Thanks for being part of Community Chaos. So we have this problem where people are having parasites and people are taking things away from the culture. Everybody got something to say. Everybody got something to take away. Just looking for scripture. I mean, it comes to a lot of different things. If first of all, there's scripture. If your husband wants to stay, then let him stay. If he wants to go, then let him go. So as far as scripture in that, if he wants to stay, then you make sure that you do the best you can to be a great example. If you're talking about praying for your husband, hey, you should all cover your husband in prayer. If you're talking about submitting to a mission. Well, is the mission that you have, is what is the mission that your husband has? And is it being superseded by the drug life or whatever the different things that are coming in? If it's being superseded, you need to have a question about mission, because you're not supposed to be in submission submitted to the man, but submission submitted to a mission. So does he have a mission? Is he willing to go ahead and put his mission before the drugs and different things like that? As far as even stuff like that, a witch must be put to death. So what can you do, even if it's just in a spiritual manner, or if it is something that you're going to involve the police? And I say this for educational purposes only, because this is where I said some of the stuff I can't necessarily go into on here because of legal reasons, but I'll dip a toe into it. If you're dealing with somebody who's dealing with those things, you're ultimately, like, is it something that's you can protect yourself while going at them? Is it something to where you know that you can be protected and somehow be able to get the police involved, but make sure that the people aren't going to know that you did it? Because they might, if it's a bigger thing, I don't know how many of these people are attached or who they're attached to, or if somebody comes looking for you, things like that. But also talking about, and getting back to what we were talking about today, parasite behavior. That's parasitical behavior. We're dealing with somebody who is, in a sense, whether they mean to or not, they're feeding off you, and you're starting to get involved with some things through a connection that's really something that's a danger to you, and you as a wife deserve to feel secure and to get affection, and you're not going to get the security that you need if you're dealing with people who could ultimately take somebody's life. So prayer at the end of the day, on all those things. But there's different things. But at the end of the day, like I said, I can't really go too much further because now I'm dipping the toe into some legal ramifications, especially if I put stuff out on these platforms where somebody might be able to try to cut it, manipulate it, or whatever. Not you. I'm just saying in general, if something were to happen, somebody could try to utilize that, and I had to be a little protective on that. So like I said, if you want to reach out, feel free, and I should be available right after the live, at least until probably about 12:45 or so. I believe someone can control your body, and how? I believe that somebody can use witchcraft to attach things, or even be there. Obviously, could be demon possession and things of that nature. The question is, what do you give people permission to do? As far as being a parasite, right? Parasites have to be given permission. They have to be allowed in the body, and then you have to allow an environment that allows them to be able to go ahead and you have to allow them to be in the body, and you have to allow them to have an environment where you keep feeding them things that are there. So any kind of demonic influence, any kind of taking over a body, even in the spiritual sense, those things have to be allowed, right? Those things have to be allowed. He said, we're putting our children into homes first to secure generational wealth. If you really for us, we moving over here. Okay, well, that's great. If you're saying that everybody got to bow down and capitulate to what you're doing, it'd be great. Hopefully you guys have everything together as far as law. Hopefully you're thinking about things as far as generationally. Also, hopefully you're doing things that are going to be able to make sure that they're protected as far as what the word usage is and things of that nature. And hopefully you're going to make sure that whatever the bylaws are, things that make sure the main thing is always the main thing. We're trying to do the same thing over here. Don't mind partnering with people, but I don't know what you stand for, so to speak, but keep moving. If you're moving, do what you do. He said, would you say parasites play a part in stagnation or depression? They can, because if they're causing stuff like issues with your blood flow, if they're causing issues as far as you not getting nutrients that you need, things like that, certain deficiencies cause certain things as far as depression. So yeah, you can have all those great things that are going, you can have a lot of great things going on, right? So a lot of people, they have parasites. A lot of different diseases that you have are straight up parasites, but we don't call them parasites. We just call them by some other name. And then we give you a medicine that never kills the parasites, but we just have you keep dealing with certain things. And if you're not careful, the parasite, when it lodges itself and it stays somewhere long enough, it begins to destroy the body in a manner where it can't heal. So even once you get rid of the parasite, you'll still be better, but you might not ever get back to your best self. But as far as witchcraft, things like that or whatever, but once again, it's about what you give permission to. And ultimately, we have to get back to it. We have to get to a place where we start realizing, what have we permitted? You know, I told you they were going to start mowing the lawn exactly where we were, didn't I? Ugh. Okay, so y'all give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and try to move somewhere. I told y'all it was going to happen. It happened a lot. It happened a lot later than what I thought it would. But give me a second to try and move on the other side of this building real quick. If y'all don't mind hanging in there with me, got to move our stuff. But yeah, so the parasite stuff is serious. But yeah, so the whole thing as far as parasites is very serious, right? And it's extremely important that we realize what's going on with it. It's extremely important that we realize what's going on with it. So when we're dealing with these items, when we're dealing with these things, when we're dealing with these problems, we have to see very quickly what's going on, and we have to see how it is that we can even address such things. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to carry all these things together. You know what? We might just have to take a little break. So I'll walk you guys over where we're going to, and then we might have to take a little break as I come back for the rest of the stuff, if that's all right. Hopefully I don't leave. But yeah, so we're dealing with a lot of different items, a lot of different things, and we got to be honest about the parasites. We got to be honest about what's going on. We have to be honest about what Yah really wants for us and what's going on. And we've allowed some things to be attached to us that should never have been attached. We've allowed some things to remain attached to us that should have never been attached. We've allowed some things that are frustrating, that that even kill to a certain extent, right, to reside and stay with us in society. Aye, aye, aye. So since we've allowed some of these things to happen, we've got to make sure that since we've allowed some of these things to happen, we've got to make sure that we're in position to look out for these things. Actually, this is a nice spot right here. So y'all give me a second. I'll be right back. Grab the rest of our setup. Be right back. Okay. Alrighty. Sorry about that. So hopefully we got people to stay on with us. Oh, so the guy made it a point to tell me that they're cutting today, and came up and all that. And then once I left, he left anyway. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Oh, we lost a bunch of y'all. Okay, cool, no problem. Well, for those that are on, right? But yeah, so we're talking about parasites, parasitical behavior, and hopefully you can see the mindset that comes with it. Is a lot of people are dealing with a lot of things that are parasites. They're dealing with a lot of parasitical behavior. There's a lot of behaviors that we just go ahead and deal with and have people do, and we just accept them, right? And in this series, we're talking about this system is sus. It really is. And if we're gonna talk about it, we've got to realize that it's not so much even just what we want or something that sounds great or something that we're saying just randomly for an argument, this, that, or whatever. Like, this is something that's real at this point. This is something that's extremely real at this point. This is something that we can't ignore. We can't just throw to the side. We can't just say, oh, this is just something that Kofi Ofori is making up, or that SOC is making up, or that these Afrocentric people are making up, this and that or whatever. This is something that's real. This is something that's extremely real, very real. This is something that is affecting lives, just like parasites do. And if we're going to get rid of them, we have to cleanse them. Right? We have to go through a cleansing process. So now we've got to look and start looking at the herbs, so to speak. What are the things that we can use to cleanse parasites. Because ultimately, we're not going to just stay with parasites, right? So, what are the things that we can begin to use to cleanse the parasite? Right? At the end of the day, what are the things that are there for us, that are available to us to help us to cleanse? We don't have to have parasites all day, every day. So, what can we use to cleanse? Right? We talked about the word of Yah, of course. Right? But what are some things specifically that we can begin to use to cleanse? That's the next step, is not to just talk about it, but now we got to empty it. We got to get this thing out. We have to make sure that our bodies are a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. Your body can't be holy and acceptable if it's filled with parasites. Right? If we have parasitical behavior, that's not working. It's not helping. Well, eating right, right? Changing our surroundings. Yeah. So watch this. So eating right. So once again, like, what are you eating? What pops up spiritually for you that you eat? What is it that you're eating? What is it that you've chosen to continue to eat? What is it that you're eating that you know comes with parasites? The environment that you're eating in, the company that you keep, right? Like, what is the environment you're eating in? As I said before, at some point, your environment has to change. Oh, hope y'all have a great weekend as well, right? What is the environment that needs to change? Ultimately, what are we going to do? And who's going to be the barometer? Right? Who's going to be the barometer? Who's going to be the one that shows us if we're doing the right thing temperature wise? What are the things that we need to change? Who gets to tell us what to change? Who's in charge of your healing? In essence, right? Whoever's telling you what you need to do to change is going to be the person that takes charge over your healing. Who takes charge over our healing? Where does our healing come from? Our help cometh from who? Who does our help come from? We love to sing those songs. My help, my help. All of my help, it comes from who? I'm not looking for you to promote this stuff anymore. We let you promote your will and your ways long enough. Now comes the cleansing even from you, right? Cleansing even needs to take place where we need to be cleansed from you. We need to be separated from you. Nobody in my family seems to be listening to me. They might be cleansed. They might be cleansing. You might need to be cleansed. Nobody's listening to me. Yeah, maybe nobody is. It might be time to separate. It might be time to be cleansed. Things happen for seasons, they happen for reasons. It might be time. Like, Yah is cleansing. Do you believe we're in the last and evil days? What shall happen in these last and evil days? Right? Yahshua told you what's going to happen. In these last and evil days, certain things will happen. Certain things must happen. In these last and evil days, certain things must happen. They must take place. What are some of those things that must take place? Think about that now. What are some things that must take place? Not that can, that must. Have you ever studied the things that must take place? Because if they must take place, that means that you can't stop it. There are people say, watch this. Parasites have you staying still because you keep trying to stop things from happening that must take place. There's some things that must take place in your life. There's some pain that's going to have to happen. There's some things that are the beginning of sorrows, right? They must take place. They must. I know. I'm not saying I want them to happen. I'm not saying that I asked for it to happen. I'm not saying that it was Yah's will that it would happen. because at the end of the day, he's just simply telling you what's going to happen due to us being in sin. He didn't ask. He didn't ask for us to be in sin. He asked for us to be obedient. He didn't ask for this. Just like you ain't asked for. He ain't asked for this. You ain't asked for this. But there are certain things that must take place. Right? The Bible even declares that some of them are the beginning of sorrows. Not just that it's going to cause you to be in sorrow. It's the beginning of sorrows. Parasites are trying to take your attention off. Parasites are out there trying to say, no, 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 it's not. That's not true. Don't worry about that. There's going to be peace. All things are going to change. Goodwill towards all men. Everybody's going to agree. One world religion. Everybody's in agreement. Don't let these preachers teach you this. Don't let them do. No, 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 no. Like there are some things that must take place. It's a watch this. See, we don't know how kings work. We don't know how kingdoms work. You think that law is only the book of or the laws of Moses. Right? You think that laws are only the laws of Moses. Anything that a king decrees, it must be established because it is law, and he must live it. If he doesn't live it himself, then he is breaking the law. We're not talking about these perverted, wicked, witchcraft type kings out here and queens out here that are perverse and don't even follow what they say. We're talking about the King of Kings. We're talking about perfection out here. In a perfected kingdom, the king of a perfected kingdom must be perfect in enactment of his law. If a perfect queen and a queendom must be perfect in her enactment of her law. Whatever king or queen decrees, it must be established. If they don't establish it first, then nobody can establish it. If the king says do something and he turns around and does something the opposite of what he says does, at some point it has to go away from being law because the king is the one that makes it. That's why even what a lot of people do in their perverted kingdoms is they made up laws and then they'll say, well, the public has to do, the commoner has to do, everybody else must do blah 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 for the king. But they'll leave the king out. You know why? Because the king ain't gonna do it anyways. And we know if the king is out here looking a certain way, he gonna make us all look bad. That's why eventually England came and they took their kingdom back from the kings and queens. They took them back really specifically from King John, who was out here wilding out, right? I'm all right out here, Sister Monica. Thank you. I appreciate you. I know you be looking out for me a lot. I promise you, I'm all right. Right? But we got to be kings and queens. Right? Whatever a king decrees, it must be established. Whatever a king decrees, it must be. It's not a question. Right? Whatever a king decrees, it must be established. It's not a question. It's not a question about it. It's not something to be questioned. It's not something to be thought about twice. It's not something to be, well, maybe it happens, maybe it won't. Like whatever somebody decrees. And see, that's the problem is, once again, you're dealing with parasitical behavior. Parasites, they feed on the things, but they expect for you to live while all they do is make sure that they breed. They breed chaos and confusion, but they live off you. You got to be the person to hunt. You got to be the person to do 9 to 5. You got to be the person to be faithful. You got to be the person to be obedient. You got to be the person to give your tithe and offering. But you're not getting no word, like we talked about last night. You were getting no word. But you got to give. You got to give this effort. You got to give this energy. You have to make sure that you're always providing for others. You have to make sure that you're teaching. You have to do. But ain't nobody trying to move. Nobody trying to move. But you got to make all the moves for everybody. You always have to be obedient, but nobody else has to be obedient, right? But nobody wants to make sacrifices. Nobody wants to make sure that these things are happening correctly, right? You got to ask yourself, are those things correct, right? Just because somebody's telling you something's correct, is it that sounds like a parasite? So it sounds like everybody and their mom at the park now. Yeah, some kind of class, but also it's mainly just the noise of the whatever, right? How you doing, Hatchet Games? Hey, right? So you gotta ask yourself, right? If I'm going to be part of a kingdom, right? In a kingdom, I must add, and the kingdom must add value to me, right? I must add, and the kingdom should add value to me. If it's not adding value, then that's a parasite, especially if it's taking, right? I get it. There's some of y'all out here who think that I don't add any value. If you think I don't add any value, like, don't worry about supporting in any way, shape, or form. But if I'm adding value, right, then you should ask yourself, like, if I'm adding value, then that's not a parasite. I get it if somebody just goes, because you're a pastor, because I've had church hurt, or because I've had this, or because I don't like the fact it's not moving in this direction. That's cool. You got every right to do all that stuff. What I'm saying though is, don't become a parasite. Don't label me, or don't label your brother or sister. Don't label anybody SOC. Don't label these other camps, whatever. Like, find out if they actually add or they take away. Um, the great philosopher Jalen Rose, if you know about basketball, the great philosopher Jalen Rose once said that people come for four, and he got this from somebody else. I don't remember who he got this from, but four people come in your life for four reasons. He said they come to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Pretty simple, right? People come in your life for four reasons. They come to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. And you got to think to yourself, you got to be honest enough before you get into a place of, well, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I don't want to do. You got to be honest enough to first ask yourself. You got to first be able to ask yourself, what does this person, what are they coming to do? The system is sus. They don't even want you to think about this. But I want you to come outside of the nature of a sus system. Ask yourself specifically, the people that are around in my life right now, I don't care if it's Kofi, if it's Elder Maya, if it's whomever, the people that are in your life that you make a regular part of your life, are they adding? Are they subtracting? Are they multiplying? Or are they dividing? And if they're doing so, what is the reason they're doing so? If they're doing so, what's the reason they're doing so? Are they adding? Are they subtracting? Are they multiplying? Are they dividing? And if they're doing any of them, what is the purpose? Because watch this. Maybe somebody's subtracting something that you don't need. I'm not saying that just because somebody's subtracting, that's automatically means they're a terrible human being, right? But why subtracting? What are you subtracting from? And if you're going to subtract now, are you going to multiply later? You see? Are they there to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? I'm going to change my if you're on YouTube, you can't see my face at all right now because with the position of the sun, I'm gonna change the angle I'm at real quick. I promise you, it's not gonna be as long as last time. I literally just need to move around this little horseshoe, so you guys can see me a little differently than what you're seeing me now, right? But are you in a position? Whoever's in your life, have you taken inventory to see, are they adding? Are they subtracting? Are they multiplying? Are they dividing? Have you ever thought about it? Have you looked at it? Have you studied these people? Have you seen their tactics? Have you seen their habits? Have you thought to yourself? Have you even gauged it? Let me see what they're doing. Let me see what their tendency is. Do these people subtract? When I get ready to go to the next level, man, you know you can't really do all that. That's going to be a lot to ask, if anybody. Are you sure you're ready for that? You know, nobody in our family's ever done da 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 da. You know, it's just. I'm not saying these people are bad, whatever. I'm just saying, have we ever taken time out to ask? Right? Have we ever taken time out to ask, like, what is this person's purpose in my life? When the chips are down, do they add anything? When I have a vision, do they multiply? You know, wives multiply, right? That's one of the greatest gifts that you can ever have from a wife. That's one of the greatest things that she has to give you. Wives don't just give, they multiply. Praise yeah. Wives just don't just give, they don't just show up randomly. Wives multiply. You ever thought about that? Wives multiply. I say I like that angle. I might have to have TikTok at that angle too. Give me, I'm sure this is a nice angle. YouTube getting all the angle out here, right? I like that angle, right? But are they adding? Are they multiplying? What are they out here doing? What's the point? What purpose do they serve in your life? Do they add? Do they multiply? Do they subtract? Do they divide? Do they cause division? Some people, every time they come around, they cause division. They're not. Some people aren't just energy vampire. Some of them, they literally just come by and they cause division. They sow seeds of discord. Some of y'all marriages, you only get in fights when certain people come around. Ooh, that's real though. And what? Yeah, what are you learning to gain and while they're doing this? Yeah, some people that are in your life, they're only they only sow chaos. They only sow frustration. They don't have anything of value for you. Every time they come around, you're going. There's certain people that every time it's like clockwork. As soon as they come around, it's guaranteed you're gonna be in an argument. How you doing, guest sister? It's guaranteed. Some people, certain people in your life, is guaranteed. Whenever they come around, you will be in an argument. You will be frustrated. You will be angry. How you doing, Sister Shima? Right? And you need to start asking yourself when they come around. Let me put a little chart up, and you need to go ahead and let people see it too. What's that chart for? Oh, I'm just trying to figure out. I'm putting your name on the list. You see right here, I got all the names on the left, and I got going horizontally up top. I got addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And every time y'all start doing certain things, I'm gonna put certain check marks next to your name. And after about a week, after about a month, however long you want to go, I'm gonna go and evaluate this list, and I'm gonna put y'all in the proper column. And you right, and if you 50-50 on addition subtraction, I need to figure out why you would I need to go back and evaluate when did you add, when did you subtract. If you somebody who's 100% in division, I can't have you around because y'all always causing division. If I see you on here, you multiplying all the time, I give you a seed and somehow you multiply that I need to make sure that I keep you around, not sow back into you, because if I sow in the seed that multiplies, it's gonna come back 30, 60, and 100-fold. Like, we don't want to admit and call people out and tell people like, you might need to be greater in my life because I'm too great to deal with lasciviousness anymore. I'm too great to deal with lust issues. I'm too great. This system is sus. The system says keep going to places that dishonor you, frustrate you, manipulate you, call straw men, don't want you to do. See, you need to start calling people out and saying, no, 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 I need to make sure I got a list. What do you do? What do you add to this? Do you ever add? Do you ever have anything positive to say? Or whenever you have addition, you always divide. You come up there and see people do this. You ever met somebody that does this? Some of us do this, right? Look, man, this person is great and they help out all the time and they do this and they do that. But man, for real, this is really what they be doing. Maybe we should let them go. There's some people around you that talk about you like that all the time. They start off with, right? Or you'll hear people do this, you know, no disrespect. As soon as you hear somebody say no disrespect, what do? You say, oh, you in your mind, oh, they about to disrespect. Certain people, when they say no disrespect, you like, oh my greatness. All right, what they about to say? You know what I'm saying? You as soon as they say no disrespect, you like, oh, they about to subtract and divide. I already feel it, right? I already feel it. They try, right? They like, I feel that in my shundo, right? As soon as they hit you with the no disrespect, you like, oh snap! Hide the women and children. Whatever they about to say, somebody about to snap is about to go down. As soon as I hear no disrespect, I know that means disrespect is coming, right? There's some people that I know that, right? As soon as I hear it, I know you enough to know that as soon as you tell me no disrespect, or sometimes that spirit you carry, I know enough about that spirit, right? But the system is sus. We like to hear people be disrespectful so much that we don't even check the disrespect. When somebody says no disrespect, first thing, well then make sure whatever you say can't be labeled disrespectful. Because you just told me that's not what we're doing, right? So I'm just checking you real quick. Make sure that whatever come out your mouth next, that you're gonna be humble and you're not gonna cause disrespect. If it's no disrespect, let's make sure it's no disrespect. If it's a spade, let it be a spade. If it's my culture, let it be my culture. And stop being not just a hypocrite. Stop being a snowflake. Stop melting every time that my culture gets to be able to be put in its proper place. No disrespect. No disrespect. Right? When the Bible says fear the Lord, you know the word fear, it means respect. Respect him. So either you're gonna have to respect him, and sometimes that might mean that you might have to come off disrespectful to somebody else, because if they don't respect the Lord, fear the Lord, then that means that if you respect the Lord, then it's disrespectful to them. This is why people get all frustrated and upset in their feelings. The same way that they wouldn't want you to get in your feelings. They say, why you always talking about your religious belief? Why you always talking about you believe in Yah? Why you always talking about believing in the Bible? And isn't that nobody needs that now? Why you got to bring up the Bible now? But you can talk about twerking and throwing it back. That's not dis. Why is your culture supersede mine? Why are you always talking about marriage so much? I'm not even married, this and that. The Bible talks about we're married to the Most High. Yeah, but I ain't trying to hear that. And I'm this and that. And I'm fine. I don't need no man to be able to say who I am and verify me. I don't need no woman to verify me. I'm okay being single to the grave. I mean, okay, but why does that make you angry? Why does my marital bliss make you feel like you disrespected? See, that's parasite behavior. The system is sus. That's a parasite. I'm talking about how my wife makes me feel happy. It makes me feel loved and helps me out. And then y'all hit us with the Will Smith stuff, who can't even keep his wife happy and she can't keep him happy. But you hit me with the Will Smith stuff. Will Smith, Will Smith once said that it's not my responsibility to keep you happy. Okay, how does Will Smith look when he's slapping Chris Rock? And thank you for the love, appreciate it, right? How did Will Smith look when he slapped Chris Rock? Did he look happy? He looked like he was happy when he was laughing at the joke. Then he looked at his wife and realized he wasn't happy. Then he went on stage and realized that he was even unhappier. And then he got down and had to get even louder and say, "Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth." Now, even if you believe that was acting, did he look happy? Because even when you're acting, you got to take on spirits to make sure that you can still act what it was. So even if we're gonna say it was staged, it's still you got to take on a spirit to hit that. When these actors cry and they cry real tears, they have to take on spirits. Like for example, if some actors, they all have different techniques, but some actors, if they cry in a scene, they might be crying about one thing, but they actually have to bring up something else that they might have that should be dead, right? So if somebody's going to act like they're not forgiving and they're crying because they can't forgive somebody in the scene, they have to go back to something and think of something that they've forgiven, dredge it back up, psych themselves into believing that and let go of forgiveness so that they can give you that scene. And you love that scene, but you don't realize that the spirit had to take over them for them to be able to get you that scene. The same thespian was dealing in theology, right? They admit this stuff to us. Denzel told y'all that when he did the scene and he got the whipping, he got whipped, right? And he let out the glory tear, that y'all call it the glory tear. He told y'all that he went into a room that slaves used to be in. He went into an old cabin or something like that. I might have the details slightly off, but he went into some kind of room, went in there. He said he let all the spirits overtake him, and then he said then he took authority over the spirits for the scene. When parasites take over your body, you don't have no authority no more. He told you, like, I gotta have spirits take over. Am I saying that I have a heaven and hell to put them in? No, I'm just telling you that's a dangerous thing when you got to have spirits take over you. Now I'm not saying everybody who acts does this, but I'm telling you that's what he said his philosophy was. That's what he said that he did as a thespian. That's what he did as an actor, right? He said that he took let spirits take him over. By the way, many people admit that. Many people, when they write books, they say that they go somewhere, they shut themselves off, and they let spirits overtake them. There are authors who have said, one author in particular, I can't remember her name. She said that she used to write. She would go out somewhere to write books, and she would wait. And a storm would come, and when the storm would get ready to come, she would get ready to write because she could feel the spirit as the storm came through, and she'd be able to continue to write. Right? Like There's people who do that. And what I'm saying is there's the danger to having anything take over your body. Anything. Even the Most High, who says he wants to inhabit your body, still says that this is a mutual thing. I abide in you and you abide in me. We live in each other, right? This is not I live off you. When I live off you, when I control you, that's different. That's a parasite. I'm not saying you can't write at all. I'm just saying be careful about your technique, right? There's somebody out there who plays a game in basketball to where they're very physical. They jump a lot. They use their athletic ability. They don't learn how to shoot. They don't learn how to do things, but they are very physical. They're pounding you, stuff like that. Fine, but it ages. If you don't learn how to play a different way, you're going to start looking a certain way when you get older because you're not going to have the ability to do certain things when you lose your physical ability, and especially when you've had to have surgery after surgery after surgery, things like that. Like you lose a lot of your physical ability. You can't do a lot of the stuff that you used to do. So therefore, you end up not being able to do things. That stuff wears on you, right? But you can play a game. That doesn't mean that people have to smash into you. You can live a life that parasites don't have to be attached, right? You can live a life where parasites don't have to be attached. I'm not saying that you can't. Matter of fact, we talked about that already, right? A parasite can be used. It can be used if you know how to use it properly, but it shouldn't take over, right? Even things your body does to try and protect itself, sometimes it's nothing more than parasitical behavior after a while. For example, for our sisters, those of you that are dealing with fibroid cysts, guess what happens with the fibroid cyst? When you're dealing with a fibroid cyst, your body actually tries its best to squash something that's going on. So it basically tries to just something that your body can't take care of. You're not eating right. You can't flush it out. Your body's like, okay, this is a danger to me. It tries to take over it. And so the body thinks it's actually taking over something that's starting to feed off of your body. It says, I'm going to take over the parasite. I'm in charge, right? Meanwhile, though, if you're not careful, what happens is after a while, the body's not supposed to have a parasite. So the parasite ultimately wins. So now the parasite starts controlling your body. You said you have a gluttony problem. Could that be because you have a parasite or a glutton spirit? You want to fast? Could be. It depends on what your symptoms are. I don't want to just, and this is all for educational purposes. Once again, I don't know enough about the symptoms. So, that might be a discussion, or even my wife more so. You probably want to have a discussion with her. She's a herbalist, so she'd be able to actually break the stuff down for you. She does a lot of stuff with her own business to make sure that people are healed from things such as that. Right? I might not have the right conversation for you, the right things, but yeah, there can be parasites. Parasites like certain things, like sugars and things like that. Also, too, here's some other things, right? Even if it's not a physical parasite, but a spiritual parasite, or even like a soul tie or something, right? That's why we have to be careful with these soul ties and things. A lot of people don't recognize and realize something like this. What's the reason why you're eating sugar, salt, fat, things like that? What's the reason why you eat those in the first place? Why is it that when you go to every fast food restaurant, they've studied you and they know that you want sugar, salt, fat? Why? Right? You know why? This is herbalism, herbalism 101. Well, you're addicted, but there's a reason why you even want those things in the first place. Like people don't go and look for crack just because, right? There's a reason why you're addicted. The reason why you're addicted to those things, if I can make it plain, the reason why you're addicted to those things is due to the fact that first of all, you wanted those things, you begin to crave those things sometimes because you don't feel loved. The person that doesn't feel loved, they look for fat, they look for sugar, right? Like what's the stereotype? If a woman, right? What's when you used to watch television shows and all these syndicated television shows and stuff like that? When you used to watch women late at night that were depressed or didn't feel loved, what would you always see them doing? You see them in the middle of the night in front of a they put it on every television show, and you thought it was just something for television. They put it on television because it's something women can identify with. They eat ice cream, exactly, right? They're eating ice cream, sometimes salty ice cream, or they're having something that has a lot of fat, or they're eating ice cream and they got something with a lot of fat in it, right? This is because of a feeling that you want to watch over you of love. and that becomes a drug to your body, especially when you're not getting the love. So I could tell you eat dandelion. You said the dandelion's bitter, but the dandelion actually helps with digestion, and it helps with blood flow, and it helps to get rid of parasites. Right? So I could easily say take the dandelion and you'll take care of a lot of stuff. It's a aficionados, right? It's outstanding the way that it works, right? And if you would understand that and stand under that principle, you could eat a lot of dandelion in your life instead of spraying for it and all that. You could just eat a lot of dandelion in your life and be straight and have a lot of stuff wash away just with dandelion, right? But instead, the dandelion's bitter. So the person who doesn't feel loved and is always, when you eat the thing that's bitter, you think of something that's bitter or something that, right, the thing that's bitter to you, you just go, oh, okay, well, I need something else. I need something to counter this. I need some kind of salt, some kind of sugar, some kind of fat, right? But the person who feels loved can eat the things that are bitter and they're fine. They get the sweetness. They eat the whole scroll, remember? But before you eat when you eat the whole scroll in Revelation chapter 10, John eats the whole scroll, Yohanan eats the whole scroll, and when he does, he says it was sweet like honey, right? To the taste, but it was bitter, right? As well. It became bitter. Sweetness and stuff like that, he felt the love out of it. It was a natural love, like honey. The nature of his environment. He was not around parasites all the time that zapped him of certain things. Even in being an island all by himself, Yahweh and him and Yashua, who's having the conversation, he always feels the love that he needs from them. So he got something that was sweet like honey, but also it was bitter. Those things that were bitter, they were able to help his digestion. But a lot of people don't look for the bitter things to help with the digestion, to help with the blood, to help with those things like that. Why? Because you're so busy, because you don't feel loved. You feel trapped. You're in a system that's sus. And is that not suspect that a system has studied you enough to make sure that they'll spray and give you cancer by spraying away the things that cause your body, like dandelion, that cause your body to be able to function correctly? But they'll go ahead and make sure that around every corner you go to, you can get as much fat and sugar and salt as you can because you don't feel loved. If the system lets you feel loved, then the thing and made sure that you got some of the bitter things to go with love, because love and bitterness go together, believe it or not. I must go through the bitter things and find out that even when I go through the things that are bitter in life, that I'm still loved. Instead, you want to go through no bitter times, right? And at the same time have these maniacal leaders, so to speak, come by and make sure that they feed you full of false love, right? Yeah, bittersweet. It's okay to be bittersweet, right? Sweetness is great. But a lot of us, we don't have the ability to function in the bitter times. We only want sweet. That's the problem. That's when it's become a problem. Baba Kasha, that's when it's become a problem. Like when it's everything has got to be sweet. There can be no problems. There can be no bitter times. Now I got a problem. I'm not developing. I'm not developing correctly. My lack of development has now become problematic. If I'm not careful, now I'll become the next generation of parasite. At some point, I got to realize the system is a parasite. It is designed to be able to take away certain things that I should have, right? Don't throw away the bitter. You're not going to gain weight, or you're not going to gain muscle. You're not going to gain muscle without something going against you. If you lift weights because you're trying to get something to go against you. Hear what I'm saying? Thanks for being part of the community, author and Chris, right? You're lifting the weight. You're doing the push-up. You're doing the sit-up. You're doing the kick. You're throwing the punch, right? The punch has resistance. When you practice to get a proper jab and a proper cross or a proper straight, right? Back fist, whatever you're doing, right? Hammer fist, whichever hammer fist you're using, whatever your fist is, elbow into a back fist, whatever technique you're using, you're practicing, but you're also doing stuff on purpose to cause resistance. It should hurt. Amen. Amen, right? Need that resistance, right? You need the resistance. You got to have it. If you're not getting resistance, you're not going to get muscle. If you're not going to have things that are bitter, right? Sweetness without bitter, right? Like you can eat some fat, believe it or not, depending on what kind of look you're trying to go for, or what kind of exercise you're trying to do. You might look for some of your food to have some fat. You might want that in your diet, depending on what kind of muscle or what kind of body you're trying to sculpt. You might look for those things. And that's great to look for those things. You should look for those things depending on what you're trying to do, right? But you still got to do the bitter stuff. If you're gonna eat the fat, you're gonna have to work it off. And this is the problem. See, parasites in the system have got us to a place to where we don't even think that it's necessary to work off or to work things off. We want everything to be sweet, but we want nothing bitter. People have taken away our desire to have resistance. Question for you: you talking about you want to make this wicked system better, and you want to form some kind of resistance? How do you form a resistance, and you yourself have never experienced resistance? This is why you break so easily. Where's Black Lives Matter marches at? Where's Black Lives Matter marches at? It was that easy to stop it. No resistance. It wasn't that you didn't have. Look, Black Lives Matter. I'm not in the Black Lives Matter organization, right? I never really went to a march or anything. I supported some of the stuff they did verbally, right? But I'm not part of the organization. But I recognize, yes, Black Lives Matter. But y'all left that easy. Y'all were changing the whole government. Y'all remember that? Same NFL that wouldn't let Kaepernick play. Now all of a sudden they had to come out and they had to make sure, oh yeah, we're not with this no more. The same, even though they did it for really weird reasons, but the same NFL owners who own people on teams came out and told you guys, we'll take a knee now, right? You were changing the system. What happened? Where's the resistance? Now, I'm not saying there's zero people who stand for it, but I'm saying you were changing the United States corporation back into the United States of America, but you had never gone through resistance. And guess what? All they had to do, and this is the demands. And I'm not trying to say it's wrong. Hear about what I'm saying. I'm not saying that right here. Hear what I'm saying, right? Here were the demands. Your demands were what? What was it that we were trying to do as Black Lives Matter organization? Do you remember? What were they trying to resist? I'm glad when a bunch of people stood up when George Floyd got killed because that was basically the straw that broke the camel's back. But what was the resistance? Where is the resistance? What is the point of it? What were we resisting? It became about so many different things or whatever. It was never about Black lives. And that's why people don't get once a year now, every year, what do you see in schools? From college all the way down to preschool. They have a Black Lives Matter period, 13 pyramid, 13 things on the pyramid, right? And they do a whole week of teaching on it. And look on that pyramid. 4 of the things on the pyramid mention Black. And even when they mention Black, they say stuff like this. It'll say Black woman. They'll say, well, we know that the Black woman should be protected, but there are many different types of women. And so they start talking about something else because you're not resisting anything. These children are being taught about resisting the system. And now the very right, and you thought that it was great. You were like, oh wow, Mitt Romney's gonna march with so and so's family. So now you let the person who was the what? Who was the person that looked at you as prey. The Now you got the person who's what? Who you had cut yourself off from. What are we talking about today? Parasites. The parasite who had been cut off. Now he's marching with y'all. And y'all are so excited that the parasite has now gotten it. No, the parasite now realizes that you'll vote and you'll calm down because the parasite marched. Where's the resistance? There's no resistance because it was never about resisting being in their system. It was never about let's get away from parasites, right? And you have to recognize too. Here's the part that, and this is why it's going to be difficult, right? That the beast is going to have to basically end up killing itself through its own sin, right? You're not going to kill it off because this is what's happening. So many people that are in the beast and tied to it, they don't get this. At the end of the day, the beast is not trying to change; it's going to get worse. Really, it's going to get better in its system, but the system is designed for the beast to flow the way that it does. If you ultimately really wanted to get rid of the beast, you got to resist. And resist with resistance, by the way, comes suffering. Like we talked about earlier. When you start cleansing yourself of parasites, it hurts. So guess what's going to hurt? If your whole life is based off of cash, straight cash, homie, and you say, I know money's not real, it's going to hurt. I'm sorry, y'all. Oh, sorry, y'all. I don't know what happened. I was in the middle of talking, and the app literally closed itself off. But I didn't get a strike, but it closed itself off. Interesting. Yeah. So it must mean that we hitting some stuff. It's about time for me to take my leave, anyways. I got to get ready to travel some hours today, and try to make it back over here by the end of the day, so we can do our prayer and worship. But as I was saying, and I'll say this and I'll end it. I'll close it here, right? If you're gonna be in the system and you're gonna say money is not real, it's gonna hurt when you start saying I'm not. I'm gonna do things without money. It would hurt. You would have to find, like, instead of going to the store, right? If everybody said we're not going to use money anymore, the store shut down. You don't know how to eat without stores. So guess what you got to do? You have to go out and forage. It's going to hurt you some, but it's going to be better for you to forage for real food than it is for you to keep shopping for false food. You might have to grow your own food. Matter of fact, you might have to go somewhere to where millions of people, if this really was going to be true resistance, like true revolution, millions of people, tens of millions of people would have to congregate in places and make sure that all of them moved and all moved together, that their children were taken care of, that all of them ate well, and that none, correct? Because you're not going to lock up, as much as I think that you think that they can. They can't lock up tens of millions of people, but it's in the mindset that we can't survive without Stockholm syndrome. Survive without master. We can't survive without having an owner of a team. You're on team artificial person. You're on team corporation. You're on team federal government. And so you have it in your mind that if I don't do this, the federal government will stop everything. How many people you think are in the military? Can somebody look that up for me real quick? We're going to get ready to take our leave. Right? Thank y'all for being on today. Last thing. Can somebody look that up for me real quick? I'm not in a position where I can just look that up easily. Can somebody look that up? How many people are in the United States military right now? Can anybody look that up? See, this is why you can't have revolution without people even getting to a place where they realize that you got to have some kind of resolve to ensure that you have some kind of resistance. 1 million. Okay, that's a lot of people. Until you realize that there are 320 million people in the United States corporation just by itself. There are 1 million people in the United States military, but there are 320 million people that live in the United States. If 319 million people decided that they were against 1 million, it's over. Now, watch this. Out of those 319 million people, some of those people are family members of the 1 million people. It's 1111. Thanks, man. So that means that out of the 1 million military members, a whole bunch of them probably ain't going to kill 319 million because they're not going to kill their own family, right? Which means that the military can't function the way it's supposed to anyway. It's technically not functioning the way it's supposed to now, but it definitely can't function the way it's supposed to when they lose a whole bunch of their own people. So your problem is not in the numbers. Your problem is not in the physical. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. You be dealing with principalities. You're dealing with a mindset. You're dealing with the origin of things that you don't know where this stuff is coming from because we're dealing with parasites. The system is us. They have sucked out so much life out of us that we don't even recognize the 319 million to one advantage. Think about that. We don't even think about a 319 million to one advantage. For every one of them, there's 319 of us. If 319 people jumped you right now, I don't care how great at fighting you are, you going down. I don't care if you're a Navy SEAL. Matter of fact, for real, if 319 people come at you, I don't care if you have an assault rifle, you're going to lose, right? But we don't even think about that. Now think about it on an even more government official level, right? I'm not going deep into it. I promise this is the last idea we're going to talk about, right? This is the last idea we're going to talk about. How many presidents are there, and how many people are there of the United States Corporation? Thank you, babe. There's one president, 320 million people. So for every president, there are 320 million people, and you keep thinking that you can't do anything without a president. This is the craziness that we're in. The system is sus. Thank you for the love, right? The system is sus. For every one president, right? How many vice presidents are there? One. For every vice president, there are 320 million people. How many governors are there? There are 50. Maybe you want to include Puerto Rico and a couple other territories, and really what are colonies, right? But they call them territories. So for everyone, for everyone. Actually, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I did that wrong. Let's just say, to be safe, let's make it 60 governors. It's not, but let's just be safe. For every 60 governors, there are 320 million people. Something's going on with how you've been taught to make you believe that you don't have the upper hand. But then we got to get into it. Are all these persons people? Are all these persons looking for real things, natural things, or are they looking for artificial things? The reality is that most are looking for the artificial. The system is sus. Question now is, are you going to be part of a sus system, or are you going to realize it's sus, call out the usual suspects, and stop being part of it? Right? Anyways, thank y'all. Appreciate you. It's a little difficult. Got a little difficult today to do the live. It is what it is. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Actually, I'll see you guys tonight on Kofi_42 for those of you who check us out there for the evening sessions. We're thankful to everybody. If you're not going to be with us in the evening, and we're finishing up our fast for the week, so we'll have our prayer and worship for this evening. Prayerfully, I'll be back. I should be in a position where I'll be actually playing some music, so I won't be speaking, but music will be playing, and you guys can make your petitions made known through prayer today. And this evening, if you want to join us for that. Um, and thank you for doing so. Tomorrow for Shabbat Shalom service on the Kofi 40 podcast, we'll make sure that we have our very own Minister Joseph and Minister Sharon, husband and wife team, that'll come and give us a word, a message for them. Um, we will have our so tonight we'll have our evening session. Tomorrow we'll be on at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time on this channel. Tonight we'll be on Kofi_42. If you want to join us on Kofi_43, we'll be on tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. By the way, we're on every rising at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We're on every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time for the live sessions, except for Wednesdays, which are my day off. We also do stuff like classes, life coaching, marital coaching. We do meetups, one-on-one sessions, all that stuff. Don't forget, tomorrow on Saturday at 11 a.m. right after the podcast. Those who are interested in making sure that we're doing stuff for the babies, I'm sorry, y'all, doing stuff for the babies, doing stuff for our Shabbat school or our homeschooling stuff that we're going to do to help you guys out with. We'll see you guys then. But I thank y'all. I appreciate it. We'll do like a little kind of version of our shout out. If you've never seen our shout out before, normally we would have music play, but obviously it's too much noise and stuff going on right now for us to do that. So what we'll do is we'll put up some stuff for you guys, and I'll just kind of walk around as I'm getting ready to kind of take my leave. We'll let you guys kind of enjoy the scenery around us a little bit, and as I'm going towards the front and getting ready to get on travel some. So y'all keep us in prayer as we travel, and we'll do the same for you. Those of you who ask for prayer right now, it's just a lot going on. It's getting more difficult, as you can hear, for me to even kind of focus and stuff. Um, so so what so what we'll do is we'll make sure that we will keep you guys in prayer for this evening. Okay, and if you want to join us for the evening prayer, if you've never joined us for that, we do this every once in a while when we finish a little bit of intermittent fasting we've been doing. So just join us then on Kofi underscore 42, not on this place, but Kofi underscore 42. All right. So we'll go ahead and get ready to take our leave. And we thank you guys for being on. We appreciate you. We'll do our shout out. I'll put some stuff up as I'm walking around. So if you just hang in there and you look at some of the stuff that's going to flash on the screen, if you're on TikTok, you'll be able to see some ways you can get in contact with us. So feel free to take screenshots, and you can text us, email us, etc. Get back to us, and we'll be able to make sure you know more about what's going on. We'll have a list of our classes and everything. We'll have a lot, not like So we'll have a lot of nice little things that'll pop up on the screen for you to be able to see. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all. Thanks for being on. Hopefully we'll see you tonight, Kofi underscore 42, for our prayer and worship service, where we're just literally just gonna have music playing, and we'll just make sure that we're putting our prayer request in, and we're excited about that. We're thankful. We're grateful. In case I'm not there, maybe because of where I'm coming from, I might be like 5 minutes later. So if so, we'll say hello. We'll do a little bit of stuff. Maybe we'll do some Q&A. But once we get back, our main concern tonight is to make sure that we let these prayer requests be made known. For those who have Herbalism 2 tonight, Herbalism 2 should be on at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time on Zoom. Look for your Zoom link on your Google Calendar invite. And we appreciate you all. Thank you again. As always, it's been Pastor I'm sorry. Please check out my wife, as always, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. To everybody that's been on today, thank you again. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, y'all style that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made in you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom. If you want to take a little walk with me in a second, I got to get my stuff together, but give me about a couple minutes. If you want to look at some of the scenery as I go past and get some more information on how you can contact us, feel free to do so. All right. Shalom. Peace, y'all. Thank you for being on.